Hey guys, and be welcome to the second season of this great fanfic from the channel. And first of all, thanks for all the support in the first season. So, we're gonna start the second season of What if Naruto was trained by Madara and fell in love with Sasuke? As always, you know that if you want a third season, just let me know with a like, comment, and subscribe for more. So, we're gonna start.
Chapter 20 Team Selection. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, the sun shining right on his beautiful azure eyes. What time is it? Naruto thought, sitting up and looking at his alarm that was right beside him. He lazily squinted his eyes at the alarm, seeing what the time was. Naruto sighed, disappointed in himself. It's 8:10 a.m. I'm gonna be late if I don't hurry up, Naruto thought, jumping right out of bed as he looked around his room. Oh, it was a mess. Naruto internally cursed himself. Should I clean up? Maybe. Naruto was pondering whether or not he should clean around today. He always tried to be as tidy as possible when the time needs him to be. Naruto looked at the alarm and saw that it just changed to 8:11. Naruto sighed, walking over to his cup ramen and picking it up and putting right back at the shelf where it belongs. He looked around and saw his clothes that were all over the place. Naruto, with an annoyed look, picked up his pace and gracefully organized and tidied up his whole apartment room. After quite some time, Naruto was finally done with the devilish task of cleaning his apartment room. And it really only took Naruto around 7 minutes to clean. God, I'm bad at cleaning, Naruto thought, quickly picking out a normal attire to use for the entire day. He looked at the door and window that was near him. Door or window? On some days, Naruto would use the door to be a respectful person. But Naruto is far from a respectful person. Naruto ran towards the window and jumped right out of it. His hair flowed through the air as he dropped towards the ground unharmed. Now to the academy, Naruto thought, looking right towards the direction of the academy with his sharp and deadly eyes. He bursted towards it. Naruto soon caught sight of the academy. It was pretty easy to find if you were to ask Naruto. It was quite close to his apartment complex. He huffed as he got even closer to the academy that he will soon be leaving to become a genin of Konoha. Though he was already a root umbu, that shouldn't count, right? Naruto looked up and down. He pondered if he should use the door or the window. Naruto slightly gritted his teeth in annoyance and channeled chakra towards his feet. He jumped and attached himself to the wall. He would have just normally entered using the door that was supposed to be the entrance of the academy, but today is not that kind of day, is it? No, most definitely not. In second thought, he found a much more optimal way to appear in class. Naruto slowly disappeared in a swirl of leaves that took his place. He reappeared right in his seat like nothing had just happened. Naruto looked around, noticing that no one had seen what he had just pulled. Everyone was just so busy talking to each other. Naruto nodded himself, seemingly satisfied at this development, though it seems he did miss the eyes of Satsuki's, whom grunted at that technique. Cool. I'll have to get him to teach me it, Satsuki thought, looking at the front of the class with her usual non-flustered face. Naruto looked around as Irika walked into the classroom. Hello, everyone. Hello, Irika-sensei. A lot of the class shouted with excitement. Irika smiled right back at them with such content and happiness for them all. As I said a few days ago, I would like to congratulate you all once again on graduating the Ninja Academy. The class beamed at him, thanking him for his service. While it does sadden me that you all are growing up and becoming a genin, it's necessary for your development as both a ninja and a person. Thank you all for learning under me for the past 6 years. Hope to see you all again in the future. Many were once again shedding a lone tear. Just kidding, some people were just sad. Naruto was internally relieved that he was just barely on time for the assigning of the teams. He didn't care who he worked with. Just can't be you. He's tired of the amount of berating he likes doing to others. Satsuki was probably the most preferred one that Naruto would probably want to team up with. The chances of that happening is quite slim to none, though it could happen. Anyway, I would just like to now start on calling out your new teammates that you will be working with under a Jonin sensei. A lot of people nodded, wanting their desires to be with Satsuki to be absolutely fulfilled. Team 1 shall consist of Taha Asa, Yura Shoru, and Many were hoping and wishing that the last person was not them. Especially you, whom wanted to be teammates with Satsuki. Yoni you, oh shit. He was going to be outraged. What? There's no way. You clenched his head, disbelieving at the words that he had just been told at this current moment. This is rigged. 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 You thought, repeating the word rigged at a very constant and rapid rate. Satsuki was his goddess, his only true love. This was supposed to be the story of his love life, the journey of his hardships throughout time and him getting the girl at the end of his journey. Sadly, this is not one of those stories. No, it's most definitely not one of those stories at all. Haha, how does it feel you? Kiba was laughing his ass off looking at Yu's very unfortunate situation. Yu glared at him, though he stayed silent at the very infuriating words. His life was now torn apart just from this change in events. Oh, he was absolutely fucked. Not by another human but by life. Irika ignored Yu's breakdown and continued to list off the names of the rest of the team. He looked down right on his list, nodding his head at the team that he was about to call. Team 7 is quite the overwhelming team. I have high hopes for you in the future. People immediately tensed up, wondering what this so-called overwhelming team consists of. Team 7 shall consist of the following people: Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Satsuki, and many people widened their eyes at Satsuki's name, hoping it was them to be on their list. Their mouths watered, thinking about such a thing. Ahiku Naruto. Your sensei is Hatake Kakashi. A lot of the class stopped and pivoted their heads towards Naruto's unamused face. They glared right at Naruto, infuriated at this result. Why? Why must life hate them and love Naruto so much? Naruto just sat there, feeling the glares from the fanboys. Satsuki, too, looked at Naruto with a small and apparent smirk right on her face like usual, though she kind of wondered why did the Hokage put the two of them in the same team. Was there a specific reason for this choice? Most definitely. There is no way he had no motive at all. Hokage-sama, don't you think this team is too overwhelming? I thought we were supposed to be balancing all the teams out. A man with a forehead proctor covering his left eye asked. Hiruzen had his smoke pipe in his mouth. He took it out, letting a plume of smoke escape from inside of his mouth. He looked at the man. You are correct, Kakashi, about that, said Hiruzen, getting a raised eyebrow from the man named Kakashi. Then why put the two together? They could potentially overshadow their third teammate. Hiruzen sighed, nodding his head at that. There is quite a few reasons why I put them together. And they were? Asked Kakashi, curious at what Hiruzen was going to say. He took a small pause to create suspense and to stall for himself to find the correct words. From the amount of years that I have known Naruto, I have learned many things about him as a person. Same goes for Satsuki. Kakashi nodded, not expecting where this conversation was going. What do you know about him, Kakashi? I don't know much about him, though you did tell me that Jiraiya-sama and you suspect that he's Sensei's son. Hiruzen nodded, remembering about the time he had told him about this theory. We're not 100% sure on this theory of ours, but it seems Jiraiya is very insistent that Naruto is the son of Minato. Kakashi nodding, somewhat getting where Jiraiya was coming from. But enough of that. One of the few reasons why I think Naruto and Satsuki should be placed on the same team is because of a simple and relative reason. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, curious at what Hiruzen was trying to say. And that reason is? Naruto and Satsuki. Those two share a bond and are quite extremely close. I've actually spied on the two of them from time to time and saw that they train together quite often. Kakashi widened his lone eyes for a split second. Satsuki doesn't interact with other much, said Kakashi, getting a nod from Hiruzen himself. That is correct, Kakashi. Though when it comes to Naruto, it's much more different than the rest. He was the only one in the whole class to give Satsuki a run for her money. Those two are very close with each other. Kakashi slightly nodded. Are they dating, perhaps? No, it seems that they are not. Though it seems Satsuki is feeling something for the boy. It's not guaranteed, though. Kakashi nodded, knowing that a relationship in the team could potentially backfire. They share a deep bond and it's quite clear that the two are fond of each other's company. I see that reason is quite reasonable. Their teamwork should be impeccable to say the least. though I do worry about the consequences. Hiruzen nodded, knowing where Kakashi was coming from. You pose a valid point, but I must ask, what is the other reason that you are talking about? Asked Kakashi, wondering on what the other reason that Hiruzen had. He sighed, looking at Kakashi with his two old eyes. This reason is only a speculation that I have came up with. Hiruzen had silencing seals all around the room so people wouldn't have the nerve to try and eavesdrop their conversation. Kakashi noticed this. It must be serious. Kakashi thought, observing what was currently happening. As I said, over time I have observed Naruto. He also did the same thing. This bit of information was going to be quite the controversial one for sure. But the second reason on why I think Naruto and Satsuki should be on the same team is because of one simple speculation that I would like to be confirmed. Kakashi nodded, listening to this very serious conversation. This simple speculation could cause an outrage if it's true. What is it? Hiruzen inhaled and exhaled, knowing that this information is going to be very valuable in both the current present and the future. His eyes pierced at Kakashi. I have reason to believe that Naruto is an Uchiha. Team 8 shall consist of Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino, and Hyuga Hinata. Your sensei is Yuhi Kurenai. Kiba had a grin, looking forward to passing alongside his current team that he was placed on. Cool. I never heard them talk, but cool. It was now time for the next team to be called. Team 9 is still in circulation, so we'll be skipping that team and move on to the next and last team. Irika looked at the next 3 people in the list. The last team, which is Team 10, consists of Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Choji, and Yamanaka Ino. Your sense is Sarutobi Asuma. The only girl in the group, Ino, groaned with displeasure. Why do I have to be stuck with these two? She glared at Shikamaru and Choji. Irika slightly chuckled in amusement. It's because our dads know each other, have good history, as a trio known otherwise known as the Ino Shikacho. Shikamaru laid his head back on the table with a sigh. Yeah, it was expected. Choji was eating his chips, the crumbles falling on the floor after each chip. He took a bite right off. He continued on munching on his chips. Well, that's it for today. Your senseis shall be here after a few minutes. I was glad to be your sensei for the time you have served inside of the academy. It was a pleasure working with you all. Thank you. Irika smiled at them as he left the room to do his break. Soon enough, the first team sensei had appeared from the door. Team 1, come with me. Asa, Shoru, and you got up from their seats and walked towards the door, following right behind their sensei. You did not leave the room without a glare at Naruto. Satsuki got up from her seat as soon as you left the room and jumped towards the seat that was right next to Naruto. He looked at her, confused on why she even did that. Why are you here? Your fanboys are glaring at me. Naruto looked back at the front and saw the fanboys of Satsuki glaring at him once again. Satsuki stayed silent for a few seconds. We're a team now, so let's get acquainted. But we already know each other. There is no reason for us to be introducing ourselves once again. Satsuki gave him a whack to the leg with her own leg. TCH, this is just an excuse for me to sit right next to you. Naruto shrugged, not caring at the reason she was using. Satsuki continued to sit right next to Naruto in silence. I want you to teach me that technique. Naruto raised an eyebrow, looking right towards Satsuki. What technique? Asked Naruto, seemingly confused at the words that came right out of Satsuki's mouth. She looked at Naruto, giving him a knowing look. The technique where you just randomly appear in a swirl of leaves or something. Naruto finally got what Satsuki was trying to tell him. He gained a new look at Satsuki. Oh, the Shunshin? Yes, whatever the hell that is. I want you to teach me it. Naruto internally sighed at his predicament. He continued to gaze at Satsuki with his piercing, beautiful azure eyes. Sure, I don't really care. Just ask me later, said Naruto, getting a nod from yours truly. Sure. At the same place. Naruto nodded back at her, looking at the class in front of them. Over time, the people that used to fill the classroom slowly started to empty out. Naruto saw Kiba, Shino, and Hinata get called by their Jonin sensei, Yuhi Kurenai. The next team was the team that had Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino. They were picked up by Sarutobi Asuma. Naruto noted how Asuma had the knack for smoking just like Hiruzen. Soon after, they were the only team left hanging. "Where the hell is our sensei?" questioned Sakura, annoyed at the tardiness of Kakashi. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the table right in front of him. Hatake Kakashi. If I remember correctly, he should be the teammate of Obito and father. Does the Hokage know? Probably. He has been observing me since the beginning of my time here. Naruto thought, thinking about the possibilities of this thought actually happening. There is probably over a 60% chance that this thought is true. He probably even knows that Danzo is still operating root. But the real question is, if he did find out about me being an Uchiha/son of the fourth Hokage, then when did he figure it out? There was one probable clue that he could use. Did the Hokage perhaps find out that my surname is actually just the word Uchiha backwards? Probably. It was an obvious clue that I have left behind since the day I have taken the name of Ahiku Naruto. It was only a matter of time before someone figured it out. Naruto thought, thinking even more. Naruto? Naruto? He heard someone call his name out. Naruto looked around and saw Sakura standing right in front of Naruto and Satsuki. "Oh, what?" asked Naruto, wondering what she wanted. "So, I've noticed that Satsuki-san and you have become quite close." Naruto nodded, knowing where this conversation was going towards. "So I'm wondering, are you two potentially to dash?" Sakura was cut off with Naruto shaking his head at her. "No, we are not dating at all. We just hold a very professional friendship." Satsuki nodded right after that, showing that she agrees with Naruto's words. "That's right, Naruto and I are just friends or professional friends. Nothing more and nothing less." Naruto nodded at Satsuki's words. Though Naruto did notice something, Satsuki's words somewhat lacked conviction. But before they all could continue, the door slid right open, indicating that their sensei was here. Their heads and eyes snapped towards the door and saw their sensei. The man had their forehead proctor right over his left eye. His lone eye turned right up, giving them an eye smile. "Good morning, everyone." The three nodded at those words. "My first impressions of you all are." There was a slight pause so Kakashi could create suspense. "Is that you all are boring." Chapter 21. Hatake Kakashi. Naruto looked at their sensei, slightly narrowing his eyes at his forehead proctor. "That hidden eye? I heard that he has Obito's other Sharingan." "A gift," Madara said. "Nice." Naruto thought, observing their new and current sensei. "Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes or less," said Kakashi, slowly walking out of the class. The three looked at each other and nodded. Naruto and Satsuki got out of their seat and followed right behind. But as soon as they entered the hall, they noticed that Kakashi was not there walking in the halls of the academy. "I see." He used Shunshin to get his way to the top of the academy. Naruto thought, walking towards the stairs that led up to the next floor. Sakura sighed, knowing that there were going to be a few more floors after. "How many floors do we have to walk up?" asked Sakura, getting a look from Satsuki. "TCH, around 2 more floors until we reach the top of the academy building." Sakura nodded, lightly smiling to Satsuki for her very kind gesture that she appreciated. "Thank you, Satsuki-san." She just sighed at the suffix "san," but it seems like Satsuki had no intention of ordering her to stop adding that suffix right after he named. They walked up another floor. They were almost to their destination. "One more floor," thought Naruto, walking up the last floor together with his brand new team right beside him. As they walked up the final stairs, they saw a door. It was a door that was going to lead them to the roof of the academy. Satsuki pushed the door open, wondering what they were going to be doing now that they are genin of Konoha. As they entered the rooftop of the academy, they saw Kakashi, leaning on a railing with an orange book in between his fingertips. Naruto gained a sudden unamused facial expression. "He's a pervert?" It seems like he's not an extreme one like that pervy sage, though, Naruto thought, seeing Kakashi gesture them to sit on the bench-like thing right in front of them. They obliged and sat where they had been ordered to by Kakashi. "Good. You three are quite the good listeners." Kakashi had made his lone open eye turn into an eye smile that made him look quite weird. Satsuki gave him a scowl in return. "Now, I would like for you all to introduce yourselves to your teammates and to me. Kakashi looked at them, waiting for the first person to step up and do it first. Sensei, can you do it first? I would just like a demonstration. Kakashi nodded, slightly sighing. Oh, he had no intention of revealing anything to them. Ah, well, my name is Hatake Kakashi. I have likes and dislikes. I have some hobbies that you don't need to know until you're older. My dream? I don't seem to have one. Kakashi looked at them like nothing happened at all. He only told us his name. What the hell? Sakura and her inner self internally yelled simultaneously. Kakashi pointed at Sakura, whom was sitting in the middle of the three. You next, Pinky, said Kakashi, getting Sakura to rage internally from within. But it seems she managed to hold herself from bursting and talked normally. My name is Haruno Sakura. My likes? Being healthy. My dislikes? Ino pig. My dream? Haha. I don't know. Naruto noticed that Sakura completely skipped or forgot about listing her hobbies. Next, Emo. Kakashi pointed his index finger towards Satsuki. She glared at him, making him eye-smile in return. Satsuki grunted, annoyed at Kakashi for whatever he's doing. HN. My name is Uchiha Satsuki. My likes? I don't have many, but one of my likes is quite obvious to see and is quite clear to know. My dislikes? Fanboys and people who hold me down. Hobbies? Figure it out yourself. Dreams? What I have is no dream, because I'll make it a reality. I want to kill a certain someone and rebuild my clan. Oh yeah, she went full brood mode. That's a lot of sex, Satsuki. She snapped her head towards Naruto, glaring at him with her fierce eyes. Kakashi was amused, letting out a quiet, perverted giggle. Guess Naruto was a necessity to keep her calm. Kakashi nodded and turned towards their final and last member of the team. He pointed towards Naruto, wanting his introduction. You, Emo V.2, said Kakashi, gaining a look from Naruto that had a blank lu to it. After a few seconds, Naruto sighed and started to do his introduction. I might find out what he likes and dislikes in hobby, though it depends if he dodges the question. Satsuki thought, wanting to learn more about the blonde and black weirdo. My name is Ahiku Naruto. My likes? Being smart, training with Satsuki. My dislikes? I don't know. Not having my apartment clean. My hobbies? I guess. I don't know actually, training, I guess. My dream? That I know very well. Naruto WS getting tired of giving out too much information. I want to achieve something. But just like Satsuki, I too will make it a reality and not just a simple fantasy. Though that said dream shall remain a secret. Satsuki narrowed her eyes right at Naruto, wondering what his dream could possibly be. Could he be wanting to become Hokage? No, he doesn't seem like the type of person to want to be Hokage, though he might be in another world or something along those lines. Satsuki thought, getting her eyes back towards Kakashi once more. He had an ice smile directed at them all. Well, tomorrow I would like for all of us to be at the Team 7 training ground. If you don't know where that is, then you should know that it's on the borders of the village. They nodded, seemingly getting what he was saying, but they would have to actually ask for directions if they don't know which side the grounds are on. Kakashi glanced at each one of them before he broke the news to them. Tomorrow morning, we will be doing a survival exercise. Sakura raised an eyebrow. But sensei, we have already done survival exercises in the academy though. On the most part, that's how we got here in the first place. Kakashi didn't respond at first and just giggled a bit in a very weird and creepy way. This survival exercise is not just your normal exercise, said Kakashi, pulling out his Ika book that was in a pouch right behind him. This exercise is very crucial for you all. This immediately got them to tense just a bit. This is because this test is what will decide it if you become genin or not. Naruto cursed internally, knowing something like this would happen. I didn't thoroughly research on what happens after we quote-unquote graduate from the academy. This seems to be the thing that I didn't see when finding things about things after graduation. Naruto thought, glancing at his other teammates and then right back at Kakashi. The graduation exam is what determines the potential candidates that could may or may not become genin. But this survival exercise is what will determine if you will become a genin or not. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Kakashi, wanting to know more about this topic. Out of the 27 graduates in this class, there will only be a total of 9 out of those 27 that will pass this exercise or test, if you want to call it that. That means the minimum percentage that you 3 will pass is only a whopping 33%. And of course, the chances of failing is over 66%. The 3 tensed up even more after hearing such a thing. Well, this team meeting is now over. Get back to your homes and rest for the day. And don't forget to not eat your breakfast tomorrow, or something bad will if you do. Kakashi slowly walked away from them and used the doors that lead them up to the roof to go back inside. After a couple of moments, Naruto stood up and followed the footsteps of Kakashi. I personally would rather eat, but you can do you, said Naruto, opening the door. He soon entered to the other side and walked down the flights of stairs that led him down to the first floor of the academy. I'll sleep for the day, Naruto thought, making his way outside of the academy and towards the direction of his apartment complex. Naruto snapped his eyes open, looking around as he woke up at around 3 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, he had to get an early start for the day. He looked around and saw that his apartment was as tidy as yesterday morning, though it does seem like some things weren't as tidy when I came back home, Naruto thought, entering the shower and washing up for the upcoming day that was ahead of him. When he came from yesterday, Naruto had noticed that some things were not in their original state. But in layman's terms, this means that someone had moved his things. He already had a sneaking suspicion on who the person was. Or people. It must be the old man or Kakashi, Naruto thought, letting the water wash over his body. Some of the objects were moved a few centimeters or a full inch. You might be questioning how he knew this. It's because he was Uchiha fucking Naruto. Naruto slowly got out of the water after cleansing himself. But in all seriousness, Naruto knows where each object is supposed to be at because he has spent hours upon hours organizing his things/necessities that he has remembered where everything is supposed to be like the back of his hand. Naruto dried himself and got himself a new pair of clothes that he was going to wear for the day. He looked at the clock and saw the current time. 3:35 a.m. Huh? Naruto thought, getting his other necessities that he was going to have to potentially use for the survival exercise that was supposed to be later in the morning. Naruto prepared himself a cup ramen that he ate while walking through the empty streets of Konoha. After some walking, Naruto had finally arrived at the training ground that they were supposed to be at. Got here at around an hour or two, Naruto thought, stretching his limbs out in the empty field that they were supposed to be at currently. He went and sat on a tree branch that was nearest to him. Naruto sighed, watching as the moon's light shined on his face, reflecting his azure eyes that resembled his father's own eyes. I wonder, did father ever have the Sharingan? No, Madara had said that the Jujutsu had been locked dormant in his blood. But why wasn't the blood not locked dormant for me? Naruto thought, thinking as he used this to walk over the time. After an hour and a half, the first signs of human life showed up. This broke his thoughts and looked further ahead to see who the person was. Oh, it was the most obvious and probable person that could have came. As expected, Satsuki is up and early, Naruto thought, jumping down to the ground and walked up towards her. You're here early, said Naruto, commenting on how she arrived at 5 in the morning. She scoffed, eyes gazing at him. You're one to talk, remarked Satsuki, walking past Naruto and sitting down on the tree. Did you eat? Asked Satsuki, looking at Naruto as he walked towards her. Naruto nodded at her. Yes, I did eat. Kakashi-sensei told us not to eat, said Satsuki, furrowing her eyebrows at Naruto with a questionable gaze locked right on Naruto's head. I really don't care. I'll eat if I want to. Satsuki grunted, annoyed at the response that he had given her. Did you eat? Asked Naruto, sitting down right next to Satsuki. Of course, why wouldn't I? She gave Naruto a look like if it was an obvious answer. Naruto just shrugged, ignoring her words that barely did anything to Naruto's psyche. The two continued to talk with one another until they saw the next person arrive. Good morning, said Sakura, yawning as he drowsily walked towards the two. She looked at the two, seeing that they were already here. When did you two arrive? She asked, wondering how long they have been waiting. 2 hours per 1 hour. Oh, So you two woke up pretty early. They nodded, knowing that they did wake up early by her kind of standards. Though this was quite normal for them to do, they were to sometimes wake up very early to train with each other. And as always, Naruto always won the spars that they always do when they train. It was amusing to see Satsuki in a sour mood right after. Sakura sat down right next to Satsuki and waited right alongside them. But they didn't know how long Kakashi was going to take to get here. An arrival late yesterday was not a good reference for them. Took him 3 hours to get to us. Naruto thought, knowing this would probably take some time and that they would have to wait for another few hours or so. And as expected, Kakashi wasn't here after an hour of Sakura's arrival. They then waited for him for another hour. They still didn't see him during that time. And when it was just over 3 hours of waiting, Kakashi appeared, an ice smile appearing on his face as he walked into the Team 7 training ground. "You're late," yelled Sakura, annoyed at the amount of time that they all had to wait for him. Kakashi just chuckled in a very sheepish manner. "Haha. Sorry, a black cat crossed the road, so I had to take another route. You know, black cats are a symbol of bad luck. I couldn't risk it at all." He added another sheepish laugh at the end. "Liar." The other two stood up and walked towards Kakashi alongside Sakura. There was a moment of suspense that was looming throughout the air. "Anyway, I would just like to explain the rules." They all nodded, knowing that rules was a common need in survival exercises. But the real question was, what were the rules that were going to be enforced? The rules are that there are actually no rules. Satsuki and Sakura deadpanned at that sentence. "Then why the hell did you say there were rules in the first place?" asked Satsuki, annoyed at what he was saying. Kakashi completely ignored her. "Anyway, your goal for this exercise is to take these bells away from me. I have a clock set to stop at noon, at 12 p.m. If you take these bells away from me, you pass. It's as simple as that." The bells clanged due to Kakashi swooshing them. "But, sensei, there are only 2 bells." Sakura was confused and so was Satsuki. Naruto was just narrowing his eyes, analyzing the goal of this test. More information was about to be revealed. "Ah, correct. The 2 people that manage to get these 2 bells will pass this survival exercise and become genin." The two immediately became tense, while Naruto just kept on analyzing the current situation. "Then what happens to the remaining team member?" Kakashi eyes smiled. "They get sent back to the academy." The two widened their eyes. Naruto slightly gritted his teeth, trying to figure out if there was a hidden message to this all. "Like I said, you all have until noon to take the bells away from me. And also, come at me with intent to kill. If you don't, you won't get the bells no matter how hard you try." Sakura raised an eyebrow at him. "What if we hurt you?" "There is no reason to worry about such a thing," said Naruto, slowly maneuvering his hand towards his holster. His eyes were ready for battle to begin. "He's a Jonin. While there isn't much difference between us and a Chunin, there is a huge gap between both Genin, Chunin to Jonin. There's no reason to think that we will even hurt him." Naruto pulled out a kunai and threw it at Kakashi. They weren't aimed at Kakashi's head, but they were being aimed at the bells. But before the kunai could pierce through and attach itself to the thread, Kakashi disappeared, a huge log just replacing him out of thin air. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Substitution jutsu. They all heard something rustle the bushes. Ma. I didn't even say start yet and you're already trying to kill me." They turned their eyes at Kakashi. Naruto narrowed his eyes. "We don't wait to battle in a real fight between ninjas." Correct. But this is a survival exercise, not an actual fight between enemies." Kakashi was being laid back and relaxed throughout the whole conversation. "Anyway, shall we begin?" They all nodded, readying themselves to fight Kakashi. Start. Chapter 22, Bell Test. Naruto felt the 2 others disappear to the trees that surrounded them all. Kakashi noticed this and looked at Naruto with his usual and signature eye smile. "Oh? You haven't ran away into the trees?" Naruto narrowed his eyes at Kakashi. "I don't like running away, I guess." Naruto got into his stance right after, eyes no longer narrowing down. Kakashi kept up his eye smile, pulling something up from his pouch from behind. "The damn Ikaika novel book. Plus, I want to test something out." Naruto pulled out a kunai from his holster, holding it very tightly in between his hand. He launched himself forward towards Kakashi. Test something out? Could that mean that he has figured out the test? Kakashi thought, dodging a kunai that was centered to puncture his eye. He raised an eyebrow at Naruto. Is he trying to damage my eye so I have to reveal my Sharingan? Kakashi mused, analyzing Naruto's hidden intention. It seemed like Naruto was not very hesitant on trying to destroy his eye. Does this mean he has done this before? Or has experience killing someone? Kakashi thought again, maneuvering his way around Naruto and giving him a kick in the back while he continued reading his Ikaraika. But to his surprise, the Naruto that he had just kicked turned into a cloud of smoke. It seems like he knows how to use shadow clones. Kakashi thought, disappearing and replacing himself with a log before the real Naruto that was behind him could even hit him. Naruto slightly widening his eyes and creating a shadow clone right next to him while in midair. The said clone threw the real Naruto away before he could be hit with another kick to the stomach. Naruto was internally relieved at this, considering on how an injury could jeopardize him. There is a clear difference in strength between Kakashi and I. He's a very strong Jonin of Konoha, one of the best in Konoha actually. Naruto thought, backing away from Kakashi. Lesson 1. Taijutsu. Naruto heard Kakashi say this as he approached Naruto with the small orange book in his hand. Naruto now knew the exact level he was now on. Naruto steadily narrowed his eyes. I should be around high Chunin, but at least low Jonin level when I use my Sharingan. Naruto thought, rushing towards Kakashi at high speeds. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, noticing the increase in speed that Naruto had just undergone through. He went for a jab to Kakashi's stomach, but was blocked by Kakashi's foot. He redirected Naruto's arm and kicked him right to the side to back him away. You're quite fast, Naruto. He narrowed his eyes at him, observing the place around him. Now was the perfect time to execute his plan that should perfectly in action. Yesterday, all I could think about was this survival exercise. This made Kakashi slightly narrow down his lone and open eye. Where was he getting at right now? And it seems I was correct. There is a potential hidden motive behind all of this. Naruto internally knew that Kakashi was now interested in what he had to say. Kakashi looked up from his look, giving him a questioning gaze. Oh? How so? The way this was planned out. The way you were said the things about this survival exercise made me quite uneasy. At first, Naruto jumped towards Kakashi, creating two shadow clones right beside him. Naruto threw one clone. Naruto threw the other clone as well. The two clones were aimed right towards Kakashi, aiming themselves right towards the bells that was near Kakashi's pocket. But Kakashi countered by using his foot to also kick the two clones away. So I started to think about the possibilities of hidden motives behind this current survival exercise. Naruto rushed near Kakashi, running right around Kakashi. And the way that you worded this exercise, it made no logical sense that it would work out in the end. Naruto dodged a kick that was aimed right at his face, though narrowly he did. Oh? How so? Earlier you said that the person who does not have the bells will be sent back to the academy. That made sense, but at the same time it did not make sense. Naruto jumped right over Kakashi, just barely preventing himself from being caught by Kakashi's hand. The way it worked made sense, but the potential backlash and consequences of it will cost the team as a whole. Naruto twisted his body so he would be facing Kakashi. There's no way a team with only two genin and a sensei could work. That is unless the two genin are strong. Naruto shot his leg right towards Kakashi's face, but he was immediately countered with duck to the ground. Kakashi then threw his leg right up towards Naruto's stomach. But Naruto maneuvered his way around this and created a shadow clone right next to him while in midair. The clone threw him up even higher to the air. Naruto started to move his hands closer to one another. Kakashi slightly widened his eyes, impressed at what Naruto was about to do. Naruto started to weave a set of hand seals at a rapid rate. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Naruto inhaled as he got ready to do his jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. Naruto exhaled a large fireball that was aimed right towards Kakashi's face at a quick speed. An elemental ninjutsu? Kakashi thought, jumping away to dodge the fireball. But Naruto wasn't done. His large chakra reserves were practically infinite. Snake ram monkey boar horse tiger. Snake ram monkey boar horse tiger. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. Another round shout down from Naruto's mouth. But the only difference this time around was that there were 2 fireballs this time. Kakashi was in a daze, impressed at Naruto's ability to wield elemental ninjutsu. Though this ability does raise a bit of suspicion right towards Naruto as a whole. It seems he doesn't look winded at all. He has used multiple amounts of shadow clones and used a signature jutsu of the Uchiha clan. This doesn't look good on Naruto. But this could probably prove that you are Sensei's son. But if you are, how are you an Uchiha? Kushina-san and Minato aren't Uchihas. Though you aren't actually guaranteed to be Sensei's son. I'll keep an eye on you. Kakashi thought, just barely dodging the 2 fireballs that were aimed directly at him. Kakashi suddenly started to lower his orange book full of porn and tucked it back in his pouch. It seems like I will at least have to be more serious when fighting you. Kakashi slowly started to walk towards Naruto as he landed on the ground. Kakashi threw a pair of shuriken that he had pulled out from his holster right on his leg. Naruto huffed slightly, a tiny bit nervous on fighting someone of such high caliber like Kakashi. There is no reason for me to be nervous. Shit, I'll get to that level of power in no time. Naruto thought, jumping slightly and twirling his body to a horizontal view to dodge the 2 shuriken that was aimed at his head and stomach. He felt the wind rush, Kakashi appearing right behind him as he was falling to the ground. Lesson 1 had ended, said Kakashi, maneuvering and turning his hand into a tight fist. His fist roamed through the air and almost made contact with Naruto's stomach to incapacitate Naruto to stop fighting. It's over for now, Naruto. But he wasn't down for the count. The other 2 have been watching the 2 of us fight it out. They should have heard what I said about a possible motive behind this whole survival exercise. This was my plan since the beginning. I wanted them to have second thoughts about this survival exercise and not charge in blindly. Naruto thought, replacing himself with a log. Kakashi slightly raised an eyebrow, impressed with the time that Naruto managed to pull of the substitution jutsu. He suddenly heard something start to clang right beside him. Kakashi looked down and saw Naruto reaching out towards the bells. His fingertips touched the clanging bells, but failed to get them due to Kakashi jumping up to dodge. He pushed his hands into his holster and pulled out a kunai. Naruto twisted his head and saw this in an instant. He placed his hand on the ground and rolled right on the ground to dodge the kunai from hitting his back. He's taking this battle more seriously now, though it seems he is not using his full power. That's fine, though. There is absolutely no way I would even stand a chance at Kakashi-sensei's full power. Naruto thought, soon being pressured by more shuriken and kunai. He soon found himself right next to a pond of water. Naruto slightly gritted his teeth, tightening his jaws very tightly. Kakashi noticed that he was nearing the water also. Does he know how to walk on water? Kakashi thought, expecting another trick up on Naruto's sleeve. He narrowed his eyes at Naruto, wondering what he will do next. Naruto summoned a clone right behind himself. The said clone observed the surroundings of the pond and saw that there was land hat surrounded the large pond of water. The real Naruto huffed slightly. The clone dispersed and gave Naruto his memories on what he had just saw. Naruto nodded to himself, knowing what to do now. Kakashi noticed this and a thought roamed through his head at a fast rate. Does he know about the trick to the shadow clone? Kakashi questioned, pulling out another kunai just in advance. But moving that to the side, what was Naruto's next plan of action? Naruto summoned another clone right behind himself. The said clone threw Naruto in the air, flying right over the pond that his previous clone had observed for a moment or 2. Naruto created another clone that threw him on the edge of land that his clone also saw while observing their surroundings. Naruto landed right on the thin piece of land and looked right back at Kakashi. He followed suit by applying a constant change in chakra to his feet. Kakashi started to float right on top of the pond of water that they were now battling right on. This all according to my plan, Naruto thought, seeing the water that Kakashi was standing right on top of. He looked down, following Naruto's eyes, and saw something. The water. It's bubbling. Kakashi noticed too late, and his foot was caught by numerous other shadow clones that were hiding under the layers of the pond of water. Naruto took this time as an opportunity for him to jump right towards Kakashi and outstretch his hand for the bells that kept on clanging and clanging as Kakashi moved. But unfortunately for Naruto, Kakashi replaced himself with a log get himself out of this situation. Naruto then felt a sharp pain arose from the left side of his stomach. He looked back and saw that Kakashi had kicked him in the stomach. This caused Naruto to be thrown way back towards the land that they were both on a minute or two ago. Naruto gritted his teeth, feeling the pain rising up and down every second that passed. But Naruto persevered and thought of a new plan to do while Kakashi was out walking on the water while steadily approaching Naruto at a slow pace. Naruto looked from both sides and saw that no one was there and that it was clear. Abort mission. Though accomplished, Naruto thought, jumping up and regaining his balance. He bursted away and soon entered the vast and empty forest that surrounded the clear area. Satsuki and Sakura watched from different parts of the place and were very impressed by the fight that had been shown right towards the two of them. Naruto, you have been hiding your power from me, Satsuki thought, huffing and giving out a light pout with displeasure laced inside of her head. But that wasn't important. For now that is, a hidden motive? What could this hidden motive be? Satsuki thought, jumping away from the aftermath of the fight to distance herself from Kakashi. Satsuki gritted her teeth as he thought about what Naruto just had said. God, can't believe that idiot just engraved that thought in my brain. Was that his plan the whole time? For Sakura and I to think about the deeper possibilities in this survival exercise. Satsuki thought, maneuvering herself around the trees. Satsuki! She heard someone hiss. Satsuki turned around and saw Naruto, hanging himself off a tree. She narrowed her eyes at him, wondering if this was actually Naruto or not. Are you the real Naruto? Asked Satsuki, pulling a kunai just in case this wasn't actually Naruto. He nodded and jumped down to the ground. Then tell me this if you are the real Naruto. What did you give me on Christmas when we were 8 years old? Satsuki had her eyes narrowed, readying herself to fight just in case this wasn't the real Naruto. I gave you a tanto and a jutsu that contained a fire jutsu that I let you use and learn. Naruto went closer to Satsuki, pointing towards the direction that she had came from. Now, we need to move quickly. Kakashi is making his way towards each of us one at a time. We need to group up together and work as a team. Satsuki scoffed, shaking her head vigorously as she followed Naruto. There is no way I am working with Pinky, Naruto. If I'm going to work with someone, I'm going to work with someone that has my back at all times. Like you. Satsuki pointed at Naruto, whom had a face of blank amusement. I'm flattered, but I don't care about your opinion at all. We're going to work with Sakura even if you don't like it. Satsuki growled at him, displeased at his attitude at her. Then why the hell did you even ask me such a question? To notify you. Wow. Such a great job at notifying me. Well, I do try. Naruto sighed, suddenly stopping and picking up Satsuki. She widened her eyes as she tried covering herself. What the hell is wrong with you? Fucking closet pervert. Put me down. She hissed at him as Naruto jumped on a tree. Shoo. Your language is highly vulgar. Don't make too much sound. It'll notify Kakashi-sensei. Satsuki glared at him with such intensity that it could kill a regular person. Put me down. Satsuki hissed loudly once again. He shook his head, not letting her to go back down. I can't, Satsuki. We were making too much noise when we walked through the bushes. This is much more efficient and faster. Satsuki slowly calmed down, glaring at Naruto during the process. TCH. Just make sure you don't try peeking at my breast or something. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her, gaining a puzzled look as he maneuvered themselves around the trees. You don't have much to show anyway. It doesn't really matter. Satsuki glared at him, feeling the insecurity skyrocket at a tremendous rate. I'm still growing, idiot. The two soon heard a piercing scream that was quite far away from them. Oh, they definitely knew who that person was. Their voice was very familiar to the two of them. Naruto continued to carry Satsuki on their way to the epicenter of the scream. Once they had finally made it to the core of the scream, they saw Sakura passed out on the ground. Naruto landed on the ground and had Satsuki get off from his grip. Naruto had expected Satsuki to space herself away from Naruto, But instead, Satsuki just stayed right there, next to Naruto as they looked at the sleeping Sakura. "I'll wake her up," said Naruto, crouching down and putting his hand right next to Sakura's face. Satsuki raised an eyebrow as she wondered what Naruto was going to do. "This should be enough to wake her up," added Naruto, creating momentum with his hands. Slap! Satsuki winced slightly as she saw Naruto slap Sakura's cheek. This caused Sakura to wake up immediately and shoot up from her passed-out state. "Huh? What happened?" asked the confused Sakura. She looked around, wondering where she was now at. Sakura met eyes with both Naruto and Satsuki. "You were probably caught in a genjutsu. You have no wounds or bruises, but you seem to have been passed out. Then I came up with the conclusion that you had psychological damage done by a genjutsu." "Simple." Satsuki scoffed lightly at those words. "Simple," he says. "Show off." Satsuki thought, feeling the inferiority that she felt. But her focus went back to Sakura. "All right, we all need to work together and get those bells from Kakashi-sensei." Sakura gained a confused, wondering why they had to work together as a team. "But there is only 2 bells." Satsuki grunted at those words. "It doesn't matter if there is only 2 bells. If we don't work together to get them, we won't get those bells at all." Naruto could sense the annoyed tone in Satsuki's voice. Sakura nodded, knowing that they should probably work together. "All right, since everyone is now acquainted with one another, I'll tell you all the plan." Kakashi stood in the same field that he and Naruto had fought almost an hour ago. He looked at the 3 stumps that had the clock right on top of it. "It's nearing noon now. It seems like they are going to fail. I'll do that food trick on them right after if they fail," Kakashi thought as he kept on reading his Ikaika novel. He kept on reading the Ikaika novel with delight. There was only 10 minutes left until noon was delivered to them all. Kakashi suddenly gained an eye smile. "Oh? Are you all working together now? Remember, there are only 2 bells." Kakashi replaced himself with a log as 3 people simultaneously attacked him from behind. Kakashi appeared a few meters away from them, still reading the Ikaika novel. "TCH, what else are we supposed to do? Work alone and feel humiliated? I rather not." Satsuki glared at Kakashi, pulling out a kunai from her holster. Kakashi looked up and continued to eye smile. "It seems to me like I won't be able to read for the time being," shared Kakashi, putting the orange book right back at where it belonged, his pouch. The 3 genin also readied themselves, getting into their stances. Though Sakura was the only one using the regular academy-style stance like the usual, Satsuki and Naruto used a style of their own. "Give me your best shot." The 3 rushed right towards Kakashi, the copycat ninja. Chapter 23 Outcome. The team rushed right towards Kakashi. It seems like he was going to take this fight just a tad more seriously than Kakashi had expected or even anticipated at all. "You all have under 10 minutes to get these bells from me." Kakashi was still lax, but was ready to fight these 3 child-turned genin. Naruto was the first throw a move at Kakashi. A punch? He thought, ducking down slightly to avoid the punch. But before he could give a counterattack, 2 kicks were directed at him at a simultaneous rate. Kakashi dodged by leaning away just a tiny bit so the kick would miss a direct hit. He then countered with grabbing Sakura's leg due to her being the weakest in the team. Kakashi then pinned her foot on the ground and used that as leverage to regain his balance. He was about to go for another attack but had to stop from advancing once he saw a kunai get thrown straight towards him. He replaced himself with wood log. "Be on the lookout," said Satsuki, glancing around the area for any potential movement that could be caused by Kakashi. Naruto soon noticed a shadow looming right over Satsuki. "Satsuki, move out the way." Satsuki couldn't react in time and was about to hit Kakashi's fist. Naruto slightly gritted his teeth, summoning a shadow clone right next to himself. The said clone threw him right towards Satsuki. Naruto looked right over at Sakura. "Throw a kunai," said Naruto, just low enough to where Sakura could hear his voice. She nodded, pulling out a pair of kunai from her holster. Sakura then threw the kunai right towards Kakashi. Naruto managed to get Satsuki out of there due to this distraction. "Shit, thanks. I guess. Actually, I didn't need your help," Satsuki huffed. Naruto just shrugged, putting her back on the ground. Sakura walked up right beside the 2 and waited for the next step of the plan that was on their list. Lesson 3. Ninjutsu. Kakashi looked at them, waiting for the three to make their next move. Naruto internally huffed slightly, analyzing the environment just in case they need to improvise on their current plan. Satsuki, we need to do a jutsu. She nodded, knowing what exactly the two needed to do to pass this survival exercise. The two started to weave a set of hand seals. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. The two inhaled. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. Then they simultaneously exhaled and shot out a large fireball from both of their mouths. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. So Satsuki can also use elemental ninjutsu. Kakashi thought, also weaving a set of hand seals. Tiger, hare, boar, dog. Earth release. Mud wall. A large wall suddenly started to rise up from the ground. It appeared very quickly and shielded him from getting potentially hurt from the two fireballs that Naruto and Satsuki had shot and aimed right towards him. Large amounts of smoke started to cover the area as the mud wall was still up and running. Kakashi suddenly heard them start to run right towards him. But the real question that needed to be asked was, which way were they running? Suddenly, the clouds of smoke started to tear apart as three people emerged from different sides and angles. Sakura appeared on his left, Satsuki appeared on his right, and Naruto appeared right on top of the mud wall. Kakashi stopped crouching and jumped back slightly to dodge the punch that they all tried giving to him. He heard a noise emerge from behind. Kakashi had to react quickly by using one of his legs to twist and redirect himself. He brought his foot up and destroyed a clone that was coming from Naruto. The rest of the smoke had cleared and revealed Naruto, Satsuki, and Sakura standing right beside the mud wall that was slowly crumbling down back to the ground. Kakashi stood right back up to regain his balance. Their teamwork is quite impressive. Naruto alone was able to put pressure on me with our fight quite a while back. This team. It has a lot of potential even though it's not balanced at all. Kakashi thought, going right towards the trio. Naruto looked at the two of them and nodded. Go at him, but remember, time your attacks with each other's. They nodded, readying themselves for another brawl. Satsuki and Sakura went first while Naruto kept on analyzing. After a few more seconds, Naruto followed right after them. He looked at the two before suddenly rushing in and taking the unexpected kick that was aimed right towards Kakashi. So they wanted to throw me off by having those two to make it seem like they were going to attack first and not Naruto. Almost caught me by surprise. Kakashi thought, using his forearm to block the attack from Naruto. From the corner of his eye, he saw Satsuki and Sakura aim a kick right at the nape of his neck. Kakashi reacted by tilting his head to the back so he could fully dodge it. The two missed and withdrawn their legs back to themselves. Watch out, sensei, said Naruto, bringing his feet up and kicking him away. Kakashi suddenly heard the bells clang as he was being pushed back. He looked down and saw Sakura reach out towards the bells to attain them for the team. Sadly, Kakashi managed to lightly kick the arm and hand away. He landed back and saw Sakura get up from the ground right after the blow to her arm had subsided to a substantial degree. Sakura's eyes looked further beyond. Kakashi did the same and saw Satsuki reach right towards the bells by his pockets. He looked right beside and saw Naruto also reach for the bells. He was about to do his counterattack, but soon saw that the Naruto and Satsuki right behind him were merely just shadow clones. Naruto created two shadow clones and hinged one to look like Satsuki. Kakashi thought, there was barely 30 seconds left on the clock now. He looked right behind him once more. God, they don't want an old man like me to take a break, do they? Kakashi thought, seeing as all three of them leaned in and jumped for the bells. Though, since they were all clustered up, it was easy for Kakashi to kick them away just in time. They had 20 seconds left. Just do what you have to do, said Naruto, getting a pair of nods right next to him. They launched themselves right towards Kakashi with the intent to get those bells away from him. Naruto glanced at the clock for a moment. 11 seconds left. Better make this count, Naruto thought, jumping in the air and throwing a pair of kunai right at Kakashi's head. He looked up and blocked the kunai with a kunai of his own. 8 seconds left, Naruto thought, glancing at the clock once more. He wondered if he could do another fireball jutsu in time. No, there was no way he could do that in time. 5 seconds left, Naruto thought, summoning a shadow clone right beside him. The said shadow cloned through him almost immediately at Kakashi right before Satsuki and Sakura jumped from the front and back for the bells. It was almost like time had stopped for them as a whole. The timer had less than 2 seconds left until it was noon, but it felt much longer than just 2 seconds. Kakashi had 2 choices at hand. Either get hit by Naruto and get tackled to the ground or risk losing the bells. Shit, he was now cornered. I'll have to lose the bells, Kakashi thought, throwing a kunai from his holster. And right after that split moment, everything was over with. Rang. The redirected Naruto sat up, a satisfied look right on his face as he looked at both Satsuki and Sakura. Naruto then laid back on the ground, looking up at the sky that just turned noon. He sighed, tired with the amount of fighting that he had to do. Naruto now finally understands the huge difference between him and Kakashi, whom was a very strong jonin. It was a very large gap between him and Kakashi that he will have to reach. The only real reason they managed to take the bells was being they worked as a team and overcame the challenge with teamwork. Though could they have had managed to get the bells without the planning of Naruto's? Probably not. Whoever that could have been placed on this team will most likely not listen to Satsuki unless they were a fanboy or Naruto himself. But even if they weren't a fanboy, Satsuki wouldn't listen to them due to her dislike of people. She also would refuse to work with Sakura unless they managed to look underneath the underneath. Naruto heard the two slowly get up from the ground and walk towards Naruto with silence looming between the two as they made their way towards Naruto's location. Here, they said in unison as they had the 2 bells hanging right off of their hands. Naruto looked at them from the ground and raised an eyebrow right at them. Why? Because you were the reason we got these bells in the first place. Every moment that passed, you were already many moves ahead of the game while we all fought him. Naruto heard Satsuki say with actual envy. To think you would actually praise a lowly person like me, said Naruto, yawning as he looked back at the sky that had many clouds that illuminated the world. TCH, you're far from being a lowly person. Naruto shrugged, not caring how much Satsuki was wanting to slap in the face for ignoring her with just a simple shrug. I agree with Satsuki-san. Well, there really isn't much importance in the bells, you know? They raised an eyebrow at Naruto, seemingly confused at him with the words that came out of this mouth. What do you mean by that? The two asked, gazing at the laid-down Naruto right in front of them. I have already figured out the hidden motive of the survival exercise quite a while ago now. Why do you think I even asked for your help? This seemed like an obvious question. To get the bells. What else? We had to work as a team to defeat Kakashi-sensei. The bells had very little to no importance whatsoever because they were only there to split us apart and drift us away from the thought of using teamwork. And you figured this out because? Sakura asked, curious on Naruto's mindset when thinking about these things. Naruto had a slight pause to just gaze at the sky for a moment or two. Kakashi sort of gave it away, said Naruto, making them raise an eyebrow. How? They asked, wanting to learn more about Naruto's mental capabilities as a shinobi. Naruto sighed, knowing this will take time to explain. Well, the first thing was when he talked about the bell test that we all were doing. Kakashi-sensei had said that the person that does not have a bell gets dropped and goes back to the academy. But this did not make much sense. What the hell do you mean? It makes perfect sense. He literally said that the person who doesn't have one of the 2 bells will be sent back to the academy. Satsuki narrowed her eyes down at Naruto. I mean, that doesn't make sense if you don't look even closer. Oh, Naruto was doing his weird thingy where he now says what went through his brain and the amount of mental thinking he has done while observing everything. Though Naruto did mention on how this doesn't make sense and even explained it earlier ago. Did they forget about it? Maybe. It made sense, but it also didn't make sense at all. If only 2 people had passed this survival exercise, then that means they will be lacking a member of the team. If they lack a member in their team, the team will slowly crumble. Satsuki sighed, knowing what Naruto is going to say. Full of brains and power but doesn't know how to act like a normal person. The manji formation is a very basic that is used by many. But here's the thing, it needs 4 people to work. If there is 1 genin missing, then only 3 people will be left. The manji formation would soon fail due to them being unable to protect 4 sides. The 2 nodded, wondering where this was all going to lead to. 2 genin and a sensei would only work if the 2 other genin were very strong from the start. But even then, there is limitations that they have that will hold them back. I would rather not explain with more detail, but you get the idea. Teamwork was the only true requirement to pass this survival exercise. The three suddenly heard a clap from afar. Naruto sat up and turned his head alongside the others to see who was person that was clapping right at them. It was Kakashi. He had an eye smile form with his right eye. Correct, Naruto. If you had a fully black hair, you practically could almost pass as a Nara. By this I mean you're a very smart individual. Naruto nodded, not caring for the praise that he had just been given. Anyway, yes, this whole entire survival exercise that I have given you was to simply test your teamwork. The other Jonin senseis did something similar, but was probably not as hard as the one that I gave you. Satsuki was puzzled at that, though it was almost expected you three would pass. But even then, this variant of the survival exercise is much harder than the exercises that the other teams might have gone through. This brought up a question from Satsuki. Why? Why was this survival exercise made to revolve around the use of teamwork? This causes Kakashi to lose his eye smile that was right on his face. Well, that is quite the simple question to answer if I'm being honest, said Kakashi, bringing his head up and looking up at the sky that loomed right over their heads. In this world, those who break rules are scum. Yes, that is true. But there was just a minor pause to Kakashi's words. Those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. Satsuki and Sakura slightly widened their eyes, but just after that, Kakashi eye smiled once again. But anyway, you all have passes the bell test. They nodded, satisfied at the words that had just been told to them. Our first mission is tomorrow. Get ready and meet me at this exact training ground once again in the morning. I'll see you here tomorrow morning. Kakashi walked away. Liar. You're gonna be hours late, I bet. Chapter 24. Journey to the Waves. The bushes and trees stirred as four people rushed around, trying to find the thing that they were out to catch for. They all stopped and saw that their targeting also stopped moving. They all pulled out a walkie-talkie and angled it right underneath their mouths. Satsuki here at point B, Sakura here at point C. There was a slight pause as they waited for their last member to make themselves known. Naruto here at point A. He could hear a slight sigh radiate from the walkie-talkie, knowing he was going to get shit-talked by Uchiha Satsuki herself. What a pain. Naruto, you're slow. Naruto heard Satsuki tell him via the walkie-talkie. He just shrugged it off and listened to what Kakashi was going to say to them. All right, Team 7. The target has just moved. They heard Kakashi tell them through the use of the walkie-talkie. They nodded and once again moved throughout the trees and bushes around them. They then saw their target stop for another split second and did the same. Are you all ready? Asked Kakashi, waiting for any responses from Team 7. I'm ready, so am I. I am too. He got 3 responses from them. Kakashi nodded to himself and clicked right on the walkie-talkie once more to give out his next orders to the 3 at the same exact time. Okay. Go now. They all knew what to do and jumped right out from their hiding place and launched themselves right towards the target that they were after. Got it, said Naruto, alerting his 2 other teammates. They were after a stupid and dumb cat. The other 2 nodded, maneuvering their hands to use their walkie-talkie. Satsuki held it right under her mouth. Is it the correct target? Does the target have a ribbon on their right ear? Satsuki looked right back and saw Naruto holding the cat while it tried eating Naruto away. She gained an amused look on her face. Positive. There is a ribbon on their right ear. Satsuki could practically imagine Kakashi's eye in relief. They had been trying to catch the cat for quite a while now. All right. Our mission to catch the lost pet Tora has been complete. Mission successful, Hokage-sama. The team stood right in front of the Hokage and other instructors that sat right next to Hiruzen himself. Most notable was Irika. A lady came up to them and had a huge and kind smile on her face. Thank you all so much for catching my sweet and kind soul. She took the cat, Tora, away and held her very, very tightly. Sakura slightly sweat dropped at that sight. No wonder that cat wants to run away, she thought, diverting her eyes away from them and focused right on their next mission. God, she was getting tired of these same repetitive missions over and over again. Good job. There is much more options to choose from. Some are varying from cutting grass, painting fences, and many more things. This got a growl straight from Satsuki. There is no way I am doing another D-rank mission. It's not helping us improve at all. She was losing her mind trying to do these D-rank mission over and over again. Naruto had to agree, but he managed to hold down the dreadful feeling down very nicely. Hiruzen sighed, knowing that this would have happened sooner or later. I'm sorry, Satsuki. I can't do that for you. This will be a learning experience and is crucial for any ninja's development. Satsuki just sighed, angrily glaring at Hiruzen. There is no way that this is actually helping me or anyone in this team at all. Hiruzen had a look of indifference, not showing much emotion outside of using his smoke pipe. Actually, it does help us, but only by a tiny bit. Our teamwork and efficiency would be put to the test, and our time completing the task should be shortened dramatically just by teamwork alone. But all in all, it doesn't help us as individuals, and you should just let us go on a C-rank mission. Many of the people in the room deadpanned at Naruto's words. Thank God someone has a brain in here. I could almost hug you to death due to you siding with me on this one. Satsuki thought, satisfied that Naruto had sided with her and not with the others. They could hear Hiruzen sigh once more. I think it's a good time for my cute little genin to finally embark on a C-rank mission. They have been completing a lot of D-rank missions the past month. Almost 70, I think. Hiruzen nodded, understanding Kakashi's point that he was trying to get across. I see. I do guess you do pose a point there, Kakashi. Hiruzen started looking through the papers that he had piled right on the desk that he was sitting right on. It seems I only have one C-rank mission. Would you like to accept that? Asked Hiruzen, looking up from the many papers that he had surrounding the long desk in front of him. They nodded, confirming their answer. Yes, Hokage-sama, said Kakashi, getting a firm nod from Hiruzen as he sighed with tiredness. God, he was getting too old for this shit. This was such a tiresome job. All right, send in our client right this second. Immediately after, Team 7 looked around and saw that the sliding door was slowly being opened. The person wasn't anything fancy or anything. He was just an old man who was getting drunk out of his mind. What? Just a bunch of kids. This is Tsunade, a master bridge builder for the Land of Waves, introduced Hiruzen, getting nods from Team 7 as a whole, though Satsuki was glaring at old man with disdain. Naruto saw this and placed his hand right on her shoulder. We are here to protect Tsunade, not kill him. Satsuki grunted, slowly calming down to Naruto's touch. She didn't know why, but Naruto had very soft skin. She wondered why. Trust me, Tsunade. My team and I are more than capable of protecting you on this C-rank mission. Tsunade nodded with much suspicion. This put off Naruto very much and was very odd to see. It's only a C-rank mission. The most dangerous thing that could happen is just us running into a pair of robbers or low-ranking bandits that are looking for weak opponents. Naruto thought, putting this bit of information at the back of his mind. They saw Kakashi talking with Tsunade just a few meters away. Kakashi looked at them with his lone eye. This mission might take a week or two to accomplish. We will be having to protect Tsunade while he builds a bridge. So get your things and necessities ready and meet me at the gate once you all are packed up and ready. They nodded, dispersing by walking out of the door. Naruto arrived home, rummaging through his things for the mission. He had to have things that will help him survive just in case they run into the worst-case scenario. Naruto looked at the floor and saw the things he had lined up. He had a backpack that he was going to fill with scrolls that contained any more things that he needed. Some may say that Naruto was going overboard and that he shouldn't be doing all this preparation for just one simple C-rank mission. But Naruto would beg to differ. That Tsunade guy, he's suspicious as it is, Naruto thought, throwing in everything in his backpack and throwing it right around his back like it's supposed to be used. He then jumped right out of the window and landed on the streets of Konoha. Naruto looked around and then soon placed his sights towards the direction of the gate. He then started to slowly walk towards his newfound destination that he needed to go to. Naruto arrived at the gates and saw the two others there alongside Tsunade. They immediately saw Naruto and raised an eyebrow at him, expecting a reason on why he was late. You're late, Naruto, said Sakura, looking at him as he neared the two of them. Naruto nodded, know that he was late to the occasion. But it seems like Kakashi wasn't here yet either. God, this will take some time, Naruto thought, looking up into the sky as they waited for their sensei to finally arrive at the destination that they were all at. It took some time, but he finally arrived just a few minutes before an hour was created. You're even later than Naruto, said Sakura, complaining at Kakashi's tardiness. Haha. Sorry, I was just lost in the road of life. The three deadpanned except for Naruto. He did not want to waste time at all. This was his first C-rank mission that he was going to do as the official ninja of Konoha. Alright, let us getting going my three cute little genin. Kakashi had an ice smile right on his face as he walked right in front of them and gestured for the rest of the four to follow them. Naruto and Satsuki, you two guard the front for any potential robbers. Sakura and I will guard the back. Tsunade will stay in the middle as we guard him as well. Got it. They all nodded to that order. They all got into their positions and waited for any potential strike to be made by any surrounding enemies that would want to kill them or Tsunade. Kakashi pulled out the Ika novel while they were walking. Seriously? Porn in public? Does he not have dignity whatsoever? Naruto thought, soon diverting away from the book that Kakashi was holding. They all continued to look around, analyzing the environment. Soon enough, Naruto saw something from afar. A puddle? Naruto thought, questioning himself on how there was a puddle. He internally started to think as they slowly walked past the puddle that Naruto had seen just before. It's the middle of summer. There is no way it could have been raining all of a sudden. Unless… Did I miss a rainy day? No, I didn't. This isn't merely trivial thinking. Yes, I finally get it now. Naruto thought, eyes turning very deadly. Suddenly, a person, no. Two people from the puddle of water rose up and appeared behind Kakashi. They had gauntlets that had chains attached to them. The chains wrapped around Kakashi. Everyone looked right towards Kakashi and saw the mess that was about to happen right in front of their very own eyes. Got one down. One yelled, pulling their chains right back at them and ripping Kakashi to shred. Naruto narrowed his eyes, eyeing the bits and pieces that fell to the ground. Satsuki, get ready to fight them. Sakura, protect Tsunade even if it costs your life. They nodded, getting ready for a battle. Naruto felt the two of them appeared right behind him. This one will be easy, yelled one of the other weirdly clothed maniacs. Naruto ducked to the ground to dodge the two chains that were aimed right behind him. Two kunais from Satsuki and Sakura were thrown right towards their heads. Naruto took this time to jump away from them to create distance from them all. He looked towards the place that should have Kakashi's ripped-up limbs, but saw nothing and only saw a pile of a ripped-apart log that was laying on the ground. So Kakashi was alive. Naruto looked back at the battle and saw Satsuki dodge a chain by one of the two lookalikes. Move Tsunade out of the way, Sakura. He jumped into the air and started to weave a multitude of hand seals. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Naruto inhaled. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. He then exhaled and let out a large fireball from his mouth. The said fireball made its way right towards the two enemies. Watch out! Move out of the way! One yelled at the other. The other nodded and jumped away. Oh, no you don't, said Satsuki, kicking one of them back in front of the flames of the fireball without much hesitation. Sakura grimaced at the sight, but was right back at taking this very serious. Gozu! Oh, so the one that was getting crisped by the fireball was named Gozu. Sakura. Satsuki. Throw a kunai. He tried yelling as little as possible, and he managed to succeed in doing so. They nodded and pushed their hands into their holsters and pulled out a kunai. Take this, yelled Sakura, throwing her kunai right towards the last one out of the two. Satsuki did the same and threw hers. Then Naruto did the same and threw a kunai of his own that he had just pulled out from his own holster. The other one just barely managed to dodge by backing away. He widened his eyes, looking back and saw that he had hit a tree with his back. He then widened his eyes even further and saw Naruto throw a nasty kick that was aimed right for his eyes. The guy ducked down, just barely dodging the kick from Naruto. Another kunai came flying towards him. It was Sakura's kunai. He titled his head to the side to dodge it. Satsuki then came running and threw a kick to the side of his neck. Gah! He yelled, feeling the pain from the kick. He gritted his teeth, jumping back up to regain his balance. "You're done," said Naruto, appearing behind him and stabbing him lightly on the back. He soon was knocked out due to the intense pain. They all heard a clap from behind. "Good job," said Kakashi, holding the burnt Gozu with his hand. "You're alive," Sakura exclaimed, getting a nod from Kakashi. "Indeed I am." Kakashi went towards the other one and picked him up without much trouble. These two are Gozu and Meizu. They are Chunin-level ninjas called the Demon Brothers. Naruto internally cringed at the name. "Wait, if you were alive, why didn't you help your genin?" asked Tsunade, drinking a bottle of sake right after. Kakashi looked around and met eyes with Tsunade. "I was trying to find out who their target was." "And it was?" asked Sakura, wondering if they were the people that the two brothers were after. "The person that they were after was you, Tsunade." He suddenly started to sweat with nervousness plastered right on his face. Tsunade looked around, trying to figure out a way to get himself out of this situation. "And don't try and make it seem it was just a mere coincidence." Tsunade sighed, knowing this wasn't going to end well for him either way if he didn't comply to what Kakashi was saying. "Fine, I lied about the ranking of the mission. I only had enough money to get a C-rank mission. My only hope was to get high-level ninjas for help." Kakashi narrowed his lone eye. "This mission is easily B rank or above. This is something that only ninjas of my rank can handle." Sakura nodded in agreement. "This is way too strong for us to handle," said Sakura, hoping for the other two to agree, though they were frozen still, not knowing what to do as of now. "Naruto, your hand." Kakashi pointed right towards Naruto's right hand. He raised an eyebrow looking at his hand. "It was fucking wounded. I observed their chains and found out it reeked with the smell of poison. Your hand injury will be a burden. We'll have to go back to the village and get you a doctor." Kakashi eyes Naruto. He slightly gritted his teeth, knowing what he had to do. "Then the only way is to stab the wound and let the Kyuubi heal me. I don't want to abandon this mission at all," Naruto thought, raising his gaze at Kakashi. "It's fine. We can keep moving forward." "Naruto, but your hand." Sakura tried to reason, wanting to keep another comrade's health to safety. Naruto sighed, pulling out a kunai from his holster and stabbing his wounded hand. "Shit, Naruto. What the hell is wrong with you?" Satsuki asked, grimacing at the sight in front of her. God, was Naruto suicidal or something along those lines? "You know, Naruto, if you keep losing that much blood, you'll die much more quicker than the poison from their chains." Kakashi sighed, making his way towards Naruto. "Stick your hand out," said Kakashi, crouching down and pulling out a rolling bandage. Sakura looked closely at Naruto, shaking her head at his antics. "Naruto, sometimes you don't really use your head. You're self-inflicting yourself with pain. Are you a masochist or something?" Naruto shrugged lightly as Kakashi moved to bandage up Naruto's hand. He suddenly noticed something. His wound is healing at a phenomenal rate. Kakashi thought, leading this thought to even more thoughts than the last one that he just had right now. Uzumakis have much higher regenerative capabilities than the average person. But I don't think their regenerative abilities heal them this quickly. Could this be a sign of Naruto being the Kyuubi Jinchuriki? There is so much more proof now. Kakashi wrapped the bandaged right around Naruto's wound. "I say we continue this mission," said Satsuki, agreeing with Naruto's opinion on the matter. Kakashi sighed, but nodded his head at them all. He gestured for them to follow him. "I guess it's a majority vote now." They all got back into position once more. Naruto and Satsuki at the front, and Kakashi and Sakura at the back. "Good job." They started moving once again. "We shall continue with our mission to the Land of Waves." Chapter 25, The Kyuubi's Resolve. The team walked through the dirt ground as they made their way to the Land of Waves. They were taking their sweet time making their way to their rightful destination. "We're about just in the territory." They nodded, noticing the slight mist roaming around the air. After a few more minutes of walking, they had finally caught sight of something from afar. "Over there," said Tsunade, pointing right at the bottom of the bridge. There was a man there waiting for them to arrive in time. They nodded and went towards the boat. "Hello, Tsunade. Hello to you too." They all got on the boat, slowly rowing down the waters of the wave. This did raised very large suspicion and had questions looming right over their heads. "Why are we going so slow and why are we so quiet?" asked Sakura using a very quiet tone of hers. Tsunade and the man sighed, knowing that this was a time for explanation. "This is so we don't get caught. People are after Tsunade for some odd reason." Sakura nodded at that explanation that was courtesy from Kakashi himself. He looked at Tsunade. "I'll ask this nicely. Why are you being chased after? Who are you being chased after by? If you don't answer these two simple questions, I'll end this mission once we reach shoreline." Tsunade gulped, nodding his head knowing that this was bound to happen sooner or later. Fine. I'll give you an explanation," said Tsunade, readying himself for this deep and detailed explanation. "This man that arrived at our country just over a year ago is responsible for all of this shenanigans that is currently happening." Kakashi raised an eyebrow, curious on what he was talking about. "Who was it?" "He was named Gato, one of the most richest businessmen in the entire nations." Kakashi slightly widened his eyes, now learning of this bit of information that Tsunade was talking about. "When he came to our country just over a year ago, he took seize and control of everything in the Land of Waves. Be it being the economy, people, everything. The reason is because the Land of Waves is a country that is not connected to any other nation and is just an island." They nodded. Tsunade pointed towards the bridge that was right above them all. They all looked up. "But this bridge is what Gato fears. If this bridge is completed, everything that he has gained via drug trafficking, illegal sales, etc., it will all be wiped due to the Land of Waves being connected to a nation." They were finally getting it now. They suddenly entered a tunnel. Everyone looked at the front, wondering what could possibly be at the end of said tunnel. Once they got out of the exit, they saw the mist that was around them before magically be no longer there. Everything was so vibrant and bright. "We're almost there," said Kakashi, getting nods from the others. Naruto, Satsuki, and Sakura got themselves ready just in case they were going to be engaging into another battle. They soon made it back on land where they actually belonged on. "Alright, this is the stop. Now get off." Naruto could feel it. The man was scared beyond insanity. They all got off of the boat and once again walked on land. "Keep guard," told Kakashi, getting another 4 nods from them all. They all walked around Tsunade as they entered a forest of some sorts. They all kept on walking on and on. Naruto suddenly heard a bush rustle. He pulled out a kunai from his holster and threw it towards the rustling bushes. They all turned at Naruto slightly startled. Everyone eyed at Naruto, wondering what he had just heard. "What the hell? You scared the hell out me," Tsunade yelled with his eyes wide open. Naruto shrugged, walking in deeper to observe what was making the bushes rustle. Naruto peered and saw a rabbit. "Naruto, you almost killed a rabbit." Sakura berated him, annoyed at what he had almost done to the poor rabbit, though it seemed like Naruto didn't really care. "No, I was sure that someone was there," Naruto thought, eyeing the rabbit with his analytical eyes. The rabbit was pure snow white. That was just very odd for Naruto. A snow rabbit? It's quite sunny out here and it's not winter either. Then that must mean, Kakashi thought, suspiciously narrowing his eyes as he looked around the area for any suspicious movement. "They are already here," he thought. Kakashi then suddenly saw a very large blade get thrown at them all. "Watch out!" They all reacted immediately and ducked down, wondering what the hell was going on. Oh, it was just them being in danger once again. No big deal. They all looked where Kakashi was looking at. Everyone looked even further and saw the blade get rammed into the tree and getting itself stuck on it. Naruto narrowed his eyes, noticing a person suddenly appearing right on the hilt of the blade. Kakashi narrowed his eyes at him. Momochi Zabuza, a rogue-nin of Kirigakure. They widened their eyes, knowing that they were in very serious trouble. Zabuza had bandages that covered his mouth and a slashed forehead proctor. "Kakashi of the Sharingan, pleasure to meet you." Satsuki widened her eyes. She looked at Kakashi with narrowed eyes at him. There were many things going through her head. Sharingan? How? He's not from the Uchiha clan. Satsuki thought, wanting to know more on how he had the Sharingan. Kakashi slowly placed his fingertips right over his forehead proctor that was covering his left eye. "Quick! Get into Manji formation. Stay out of this fight. They nodded, getting into the formation that Kakashi had ordered them to use. Naruto stood at the middle while the other two stood right beside him. If we're going to fight, I'll have to use this. Kakashi pulled up his forehead proctor, revealing a Sharingan with 3 tomos. Naruto saw this and internally noted this to himself. Does he know about the Manjikyu Sharingan? Naruto thought, wondering if he too had access to the Manjikyu Sharingan like Obito. You might be wondering how Naruto knows about the Manjikyu Sharingan. Well, it's quite simple really. Madara told him about the eyes that surpassed the basic 3 levels of the Sharingan. It seems I'll be witnessing the power of the Sharingan in action. Quite an honor. Zabuza was still standing right on the blade that he had thrown earlier ago. Sakura had many questions pop around her head on what they were talking about. What is a Sharingan that you're talking about? Satsuki was about to explain a basic understanding of what the Sharingan is, but it seems Naruto has other ideas and did it himself. The Sharingan is a Kekkai Genkai of the Uchiha clan that Satsuki is in. But you can just call it a Dojutsu. Like any other Kekkai Genkai, a Sharingan is very unique to the Uchiha clan. They get special properties from having the said eye. Satsuki narrowed her eyes at Naruto. Their visual prowess is practically limitless when using it. Their perception is heightened to very large lengths. They can even copy jutsus from other people, though they are not able to copy other Kekkai Genkais or their jutsus. And they can also use very high-level genjutsu with just their eyes alone. A person with Sharingan can cast a genjutsu that is many levels better than any ordinary genjutsu used with hand seals. Satsuki widened her eyes, suspicious at the amount of knowledge that Naruto holds of the Uchiha clan. Kakashi also was surprised at this amount of knowledge. This also didn't help Naruto's case at all. Mist started to form all around them in the deepest parts of the area. It seems like I'll have to kill you first. Zabuza disappeared alongside the blade that he had. They all looked around, silently looking around them with much seriousness. They then barely saw Zabuza standing right on top of the water. He then started to build masses amount of chakra all around him. Kakashi slightly widened both of his eyes. Then just a moment later, he disappeared in utter silence. They then saw the mist thicken and get larger by the second. Kakashi-sensei, yelled Sakura, seeing him disappear and get engulfed by the mist. They barely had anywhere to go at all. They were all trapped around this mist. 8 points. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys, heart. Zabuza's voice rang throughout the entire battlefield. Everyone tensed up at such a feeling surrounding their very core. After a few more moments, the mist started to back away due to Kakashi charging large amounts of chakra. Satsuki was in absolute terror right now. This feeling, this bloodlust, it was just like the feeling from that day. Satsuki thought. Her heart was beating at a tremendous rate right now. She couldn't control the feeling of such dread. Wah! She suddenly felt a hand right on her shoulder. It was Naruto's. He clenched his hand firmly, gazing at Satsuki with such intensity. Calm down, Satsuki. You have us here, it'll be fine. How can Naruto be so calm in such a life or death situation? His somehow got herself to regulate her breathing to a much more calmer state. Kakashi saw this whole exchange and was impressed by Naruto's ability to handle the situation. Satsuki, Sakura. They suddenly heard their names get called out by Naruto. He slowly inhaled and exhaled. Naruto pulled out a kunai from his holster. Follow my lead. There is a high chance he will appear right in the center of this Manji formation. They nodded with a hint of fear of both sides. Naruto had whispered this to the point where Zabuza wouldn't be able to hear. He was a master of silent killing. With just one clean cut, you will be only considered a new corpse that has passed away. You're all dead, said Zabuza, appearing right in the center of their formation. He saw the eyes of Naruto just before he made his move to kill them all in a single swing. HM? He figured out where I was going? How? Zabuza had no time to think once more before he suddenly saw Kakashi intervene by stabbing a kunai right in his lungs. Everyone stood back from the fight between these two high-level ninja that existed in the elemental nations. They felt the cold and silent air loom around them all. But this fight was far from over. Water dripped from Zabuza's stab instead of the expected blood that would spill out. But it was just simply a water clone that was used as an act of diversion. Behind you, the real Zabuza was right behind him and swung his blade cleanly through Kakashi's entire body. But it was soon found out that this Kakashi was merely a water clone also. He widened his eyes. That copycat, he saw through everything with such precision. A kunai was focused at the front of his neck. You're finished. Give up immediately. Kakashi had a serious tone right along with it. There was a moment of silence. Kakashi, you're good. But another Zabuza appeared right behind him. Kakashi widened his eyes, seeing the one in front of him suddenly turn into water. Not that good. Zabuza swung his blade and aimed it to slice Kakashi apart. He ducked down, dodging the potential fatal blow that was coming from Zabuza. Kakashi was about to attack, but was suddenly thrown away by Zabuza's foot. He landed right on the water. The water engulfed his entire body. Kakashi tried getting up slowly. This water is way too heavy, Kakashi thought, suddenly widened his eyes as Zabuza appeared right behind him. You're a fool, Hatake Kakashi. He started to weave a multitude of hand seals. Snake ram horsehair, snake ox clap hands. Water release. Water prison jutsu. Kakashi was now floating and encased inside a floating orb of water. He slightly gritted his teeth slightly, now knowing he was trapped. He couldn't move at all. Kakashi looked at everyone. Guys, get out. You have to get away from here. There's no time. Kakashi yelled towards them. Zabuza created another water clone right next to him. The said clone then launched itself right in front of the other four. The water clone of Zabuza gazed at them with such intensity. You three, acting like big shots just after becoming genins. There was a very deadly and sharp tone behind Zabuza's voice. Shit, they were in such a dangerous situation. This isn't like the survival exercise that we all had experienced. Kakashi was barely using his full power. Fuck, I can't believe this. Naruto thought, yelling at himself as he was starting to feel it. The fear. The other two were also feeling it. Satsuki gritted her teeth, analyzing the situation at hand. There is no escape. Even if we flee, he'll track us down in no time. All we have to do a counterattack is now. But how we'll do it? Satsuki thought, gulping down the lump right on her throat. This was way too fucking dangerous for them. But they had to do it. To save Kakashi. Do you know the village hidden in the mist? Kirigakure? That place is something you all can't handle at all. Do you know what you had to do to pass the graduation exam? The clone held the blade very tightly. Kakashi widened his eyes. We had to kill each other. The others widened their eyes, surprised at this information at hand. Naruto gritted his teeth slight, looking at the clone that was talking to them. You won. Ever get the feeling of killing everyone that you grew up with in utter cold blood? This is the power of a true ninja. Not some idiotic fresh meat that I can kill at any second. They all had eyes full of terror. The only way I'll be ever to even go toe-to-toe with this lunatic is if I use the Sharingan. Naruto thought, no, there is no way he can use that and risk the idea of showing them. But he had to. No, he couldn't do it. He had to. No, but he had to. No, had to. No. No. You're hesitating like a coward. Naruto slightly widened his eyes, hearing the voice that entered his head. He knew who this voice belonged to. Kyubi. What? There was no doubt about it. Yes, it's me. Who else do you think it is? He roared throughout Naruto's mind. But this did not shake off the feeling of Naruto's current dread. What do you want? Asked Naruto, feeling his heart beat like fucking Namake's Minato. Any moment now, Naruto could be killed in just a split second. Like I said, you're hesitating like a coward. What is that supposed to mean? It's simple. You're being a fucking coward. Do you hear me? You're hesitating in a situation where you shouldn't be hesitating. You never hesitated when you killed your grandmother. You never hesitated when you beat the shit out of those arrogant graduates. What's different now? Naruto felt the Kyubi roar in his own mind. This is different. I'm fighting against a killer. This is out of my league. He heard the Kyubi growl loudly. Then use your accursed Dojutsu. Use your fucking head. Naruto gritted his teeth. No, he couldn't use it. I can't use it at all. I can't risk revealing anything. He could practically see the Kyuubi grab the bars and giving him an ominous glare in return. Do it. Now. I won't let myself die and wait to reform because of your stupid decisions. Do you hear me? I am the Kyuubi. I fear absolutely no body. Naruto froze, looking at the ground as everything felt frozen in time. Fear, 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 fear. Naruto hardened his features, knowing he had to meet the expectations now. He quickly made up his mind. Naruto threw his backpack on the ground, clenching his fists tightly. We're not running away. There is no time for a manji formation. Satsuki is with me. Sakura, defend that damn old man with everything you have. Naruto huffed, feeling the fear slowly subside. You know, you might not be so bad after all. Fucking softy. Naruto thought, looking at the ground as the Kyuubi yelled in his own brain. He swallowed the lump that was in his throat. Oh? Are you gonna fight someone out of your league? Bring it. Satsuki looked at Naruto, his bangs shadowing right over his eyes. He was thinking at any possible moves that he can use. There were many. 6 years, said Naruto, a small huff at the end. This caused them to raise an eyebrow at what he meant. 6 whole long year that I managed to keep my shit a secret. They narrowed their eyes at him. What does he mean by that? But I guess the ninja world has finally caught up to me. Yes, it's finally time. Naruto started to slowly raise his head up towards the water clone of Zabuza. I'll show you the power of my eyes, the real power of Uchiha Naruto. His Sharingan flared to life. Chapter 26. The Uchiha Tag Team. Naruto is in dash Sakura was unable to finish due to her loss for words. Uchiha. Satsuki finished the sentence for her, bewildered at the sight in front of her. What the hell was going on? Naruto was an Uchiha? Thoughts were rolling from her head. He didn't even tell me. Satsuki thought, looking at the scarlet eyes that Naruto had. All this time, Naruto had been hiding that he was truly from the Uchiha clan until now. She wanted to be angry at him, but at the same time, she couldn't bring herself to do it. Why? She doesn't particularly know at all. Fuck, she was being pathetic. 3 tomos too. Satsuki thought, narrowing her eyes at Naruto. He could have at least told her. At least. Naruto side-glanced at Satsuki for a moment or two. Satsuki, there is no time for an explanation. We just need to rescue Sensei. Satsuki scoffed, though nodding her head up and down and following Naruto's path. An Uchiha, huh? 3 tomo Sharingan too. Still won't be enough to defeat me. The water clone of Zabuza rushed towards Naruto at a quick speed. Naruto jumped up, perceiving everything at a much slower pace. Naruto looked at Satsuki. There is no time for daydreaming, Satsuki. I'm going to need our help. Naruto dodged at thrust of the blade while in midair. He stood right on top of the tip of the blade and jumped right off. Satsuki threw a kunai right towards the clone Zabuza, but he counterattacked with using his blade to block the kunai from reaching him. Naruto gritted his teeth, wondering what he should do. He landed back on the ground and looked to his side where his backpack was at. Satsuki, I have a plan. She nodded, wondering what Naruto had in mind. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Numerous amounts of clones appeared all around the water clone. They all surrounded him with a kunai in their hands. Shadow clones? It seems this guy has lots of chakra. That could be dangerous, thought the water clone, observing what was happening right around him. Naruto and his clones jumped right towards the water clone. Get ready, said the clones and Naruto in complete unison. They all jumped right on top of the water clone. To the outside, it seemed like Naruto and his clones were winning, but that was not the case. They were all suddenly pushed back. One of the clones caught sight of the backpack that was laying on the ground. Boss here, one yelled, flinging the backpack right towards Naruto. He nodded, catching the backpack with relative ease. There was a split-second pause, but Naruto managed to pull out a scroll. A puff of smoke revealed itself and revealed a large folded shuriken. Satsuki, said Naruto, throwing it towards her. She nodded, catching the shuriken. Once she caught it, her eyes widened at the touch of the shuriken. So that's what you were planning, Satsuki thought, suddenly unfolding the shuriken that was unfolded until now. She held up the large shuriken that was in her fingertips. Demon Wind Shuriken, Windmill of Shadows. The water clone observed what Satsuki was currently holding. A shuriken? That won't work so easily. Satsuki jumped up in the air and threw the shuriken right towards him. But actually not him? Naruto and Satsuki followed the shuriken's movement as it went past the water clone of Zabuza. The real Zabuza that was holding Kakashi captive slightly widened his eyes. So their real target was me all along, thought Zabuza, looking at the Demon Wind Shuriken as it pierced through the air around it. Zabuza scoffed at their efforts. Nice try, but all you are doing is nothing but garbage. In a split second, Zabuza managed to grab the large shuriken before it managed to hit him. Crap, I'm slowly losing it. I don't know if I can even keep up due to my current state, Kakashi thought, feeling the backlash from the overusing the Sharingan. I haven't used it in a while and I'm also losing my touch due to my lack of training, he thought once again, panting at a continuous rate. Naruto could see this, it was quite visible. Another shuriken was launched right towards Zabuza. This made him widen his eyes even more than before. There was no way he could even catch it with his two arms being locked. Or could he? No, definitely not. Instead of dropping the shuriken and grabbing the next one, Zabuza jumped while holding onto the water prison and the Demon Wind Shuriken. You won't defeat me by using ordinary means, yelled Zabuza, smirking under the cloths that masked his mouth. Satsuki looked at the shuriken that was flying right behind, suddenly turned into Naruto, the real Naruto. He started to weave a multitude of hand seals that were very familiar. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Naruto inhaled as he was falling down. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. He then inhaled out a large fireball that honed its way towards Zabuza's direction. He widened his eyes, planning on letting go of the water prison. He's done, Satsuki thought, seeing the fireball maneuver its way right towards him. But suddenly, someone had jumped right in front of the fireball to block it from hitting Zabuza. Naruto slightly gritted his teeth. The water clone went in front of the fireball before it hit Zabuza at all. Shit, Naruto thought, summoning a shadow clone right next to him. The said clone then threw Naruto towards the water clone. He slightly glanced at Satsuki. She noticed this and nodded her head just slightly. The two pulled out a kunai at the same time and threw it towards the clone of Zabuza. Pitiful, said Zabuza, kicking away the kunai that Satsuki had thrown. She gritted her teeth slightly, glaring at the man with intense anger burning through her body. The clone of Zabuza caught the kunai that Naruto had thrown and threw it right back at Naruto. You're pretty good for a kid, said the clone. Naruto jump was still in mid-air and created a shadow clone to throw himself even higher in the air. If I throw myself at Zabuza with another clone, I just might be able to dodge the attack. No, I'll definitely be able to dodge the attack, Naruto thought, summoning another clone right beside him. The clone then threw the real Naruto towards Zabuza once more. When will you run out of damn chakra? The clone of Zabuza thrusted the blade right towards Naruto's stomach at an intense speed. Naruto placed his foot right on the tip of the blade. He used it and flipped himself right off of the blade and back on the land. Naruto looked back at Satsuki. She doesn't know how to walk on water yet. I'll have to lead the clone out of the water and back on the land, Naruto thought, running right beside Satsuki. He looked at her in an observant way. She's still afraid. Even when using that fearless facade, she is still feeling the fear rise up every second. Naruto placed a hand right on her shoulder once again. There's no time to be scared. You're an Uchiha. Thought you at least have some pride. Naruto calmly looked at the water clone that slowly was walking out of the water. She scoffed. Shut the hell up, Uchiha Naruto. I'm not scared at all. She had one eye look at Naruto with a glare. It seems like she is returning back to normal. Alright, when we fight him, be careful of the blade. It's sharp as hell. Naruto saw Satsuki nod right back at him. He nodded back, pulling out a kunai from his holster. They saw the real Zabuza drop down the shuriken that they had thrown towards him formerly. Time our attacks together. Got it. I know that. The water clone was now out of the water and was continuing its advances towards them at a much more quicker pace than before. Oh, the clone was going to take this much more seriously. Anything else you want to say? Asked Satsuki. She got a nod from Naruto, indicating that he had something else to say to her before they started to attack right back at the clone right in front of them. Do whatever you have to do to take him down. The two saw the Zabuza get meters closer to them in an instant. I'm the one with the Sharingan, so my perception is boosted to a much higher extent. I know what we have to do. She nodded bitterly, jealous at Naruto's 3-Tomo Sharingan. The clone appeared right in front of them. Jump! Now! Naruto and Satsuki jumped away in two different directions. The two regained their balance and locked eyes with each other. They nodded, knowing what to do next. The two launched themselves off the ground and right towards the water clone. The clone was weaker than the real thing by a considerable amount, but they needed to be careful still. The clone was in danger, so that meant the clone will be much more careful from here on out. The two brought their foot and was aiming for a kick to the head, though the clone managed to dodge the two simultaneous attacks. You're done, yelled the clone, swinging his blade as he turned around right towards the two. Naruto locked eyes with Satsuki once again. She nodded, seemingly knowing what to do. Satsuki took Naruto's hand and threw him right up in the air. She analyzed Naruto's next movement. A kunai throw next? No, a fireball jutsu. Satsuki thought, copying what Naruto was doing by doing the same familiar hand seals that Naruto was doing as well. Snake ram monkey boar horse tiger. Snake ram monkey boar horse tiger. The two inhaled at the same time. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. The two exhaled at the same time as well. Two large fireballs were aimed right toward the clone at a tremendous rate. You damn brats, said the clone, jumping away just before the fireballs connected with his body. Though the clone did notice something just after dodging the attack. Shit, they managed to get some of the water. The clone thought, looking down at his own leg. Damn, he looks so fucking pathetic right about now. Part of his foot was now nothing but spilling water. I'll have to end this quickly because soon I'll just be nothing more than a pile of glistening water. The clone thought, using one foot to launch himself right towards the two Uchihas. He's getting careless now. We can use it to our advantage. Satsuki nodded, agreeing with those words that Naruto had just said to her. Naruto pulled Satsuki away due to her not being able to react fast enough. Looks like I have to babysit you while we're fighting. Shut the hell up, Satsuki yelled, feeling Naruto's hand push her head down to dodge the attack being aimed by the water clone. Good, the clone was losing lots of water. But how long can Sensei hold on? Naruto thought. He knew they weren't enough even if Naruto was pretty much at low Jonin strength when using the Sharingan. Satsuki, we need to do another timed attack. The last one worked out quite nicely. Got it. The two jumped right back to create a much-needed distance from the clone. They knew what exactly they needed to be doing as of right now. Snake ram monkey boar horse tiger. Snake ram monkey boar horse tiger. The two inhaled at the same exact time. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. The two then exhaled another large fireball from the mouths. They locked eyes with each other. Don't let him escape. The two launched off from different directions, but their destination was ultimately the same. They saw the water clone try and jumped away to avoid the two fireballs. But it seems Naruto and Satsuki had other plans. They appeared right behind the water clone and threw a kick right at his stomach. The clone widened his eyes, feeling their feet pass right through his entire body. Shit, said the clone, falling apart on the ground in utter pieces. I guess you two win. The clone became nothing but a puddle of water. They looked at the main Zabuza. It was now time to go on to the main course dinner. Naruto and Satsuki nodded their heads at each other. They knew what they had to do. They needed to get this asshole to let go of the damn water prison. Naruto and Satsuki rushed towards Zabuza, trying to find a way to the man go of the damn water prison. On second thought, they just needed to give him pressure and he'll eventually let go due to him being an old man. Satsuki went from the front, Naruto went from the back. He was in midair and threw a kick right towards the swordsman right along with Satsuki. Zabuza managed to block Satsuki's due to her being at the front, but couldn't block Naruto's attack due to him being at the back. Naruto swung his foot and placed it right on his back. He then twisted his body to the point where he could give him a punch to the face, though that failed due to Zabuza's free hand. "Don't get too cocky," said Zabuza, motioning his hand so he would throw Naruto back towards to Satsuki. But Naruto had other plans and disappeared in a puff of smoke. A shadow clone? Since when? Thought Zabuza, suddenly feeling a kick to his face and stomach. Naruto was the one that delivered a kick to the face, while Satsuki was the one that delivered it to the stomach. "Shut the hell up," said Satsuki, throwing another kick towards Zabuza's stomach. "Don't provoke him, Satsuki." Naruto sighed, quickly pulling out a kunai out of his pockets and quickly maneuvering it towards Zabuza's shoulder that was holding right on the water prison. TCH, such weak and futile efforts. Zabuza suddenly caught kunai with his arm. No, not the arm that was free, but the arm that was supposed to be holding the water prison that Kakashi was in. Naruto slightly gritted his teeth, suddenly being thrown right towards Satsuki. She had no room to react due to it being so sudden and was hit by Naruto's flying body. The two crashed right on the ground, in a compromising position. "Get off of me, Satsuki." Naruto looked at Satsuki as she widened her eyes at what position they were at. She was right on top of Naruto and her head was so close to his own. "Shut up, it's your fault," she grumbled, completely red all over. Naruto shrugged it off like it was nothing and stood right back up on the ground. Satsuki did the same. Kakashi and Zabuza were now facing each other. Kakashi panted due to him being utterly tired from the usage of the Sharingan. Their eyes locked and gave each other an intense stare down. "Those brats managed to distract me. Don't kid yourself. You were forced to let go by them," Zabuza snarled, jumping away and Kakashi doing the same move as him. They were now fighting on top of the water. Zabuza started to weave multiple amounts of hand seals. Kakashi did the same. Ox, monkey, hare, rat, boar, bird, ox, horse, bird, rat, tiger, dog, tiger, snake, ox, ram, snake, boar, ram, rat, yang, water, monkey, bird, dragon, bird, ox, horse, ram, tiger, snake, rat, monkey, hare, boar, dragon, ram, rat, ox, monkey, bird, yang, water, rat, boar, bird, ox, monkey, hare, rat, boar, bird, ox, horse, bird, rat, tiger, dog, tiger, snake, ox, ram, snake, boar, ram, rat, yang, water, monkey, bird, dragon, bird, ox, horse, ram, tiger, snake, rat, monkey, hare, boar, dragon, ram, rat, ox, monkey, bird, yang, water, rat, boar, bird. Water release. Water dragon bullet jutsu. Two dragons that were made out of water simultaneously rose up from the water that the two were currently standing right on top of at the current moment. They widened their eyes at the sight in front of them. This was truly magnificent to see, even though it was practically a battle to the death. Zabuza and Kakashi clashed with their own respective weapons. Kakashi had a simple but trustworthy kunai. Zabuza had a blade that was created to butcher them all. Something is not right, thought Zabuza, trying to battle for dominance in the battle that could potentially lead to one of their deaths while this was happening. Or the two could both just simply and magically die right here and right now. This was a battle between two Jonin-level ninjas that, whom were highly dangerous in battle. Our jutsu and our casting happened at a simultaneous rate. Could this guy possibly able to? The two stopped clashing and jumped away once more. The raining water from the water dragons stopped. The flooding of the water also stopped due to the subside of the two water dragons fighting each other. There was a moment of silence. As soon as Zabuza moved his arms, Kakashi did the same. But he didn't just copy after Zabuza had done it. No, it was something much more bizarre than that. He's doing it at the same rate of speed. How is that possible? Tazuna questioned. Naruto narrowed his eyes at this sight. He knew exactly what Kakashi was doing. He was using genjutsu. It seems like he was using the genjutsu at a quite good of use. What the hell? It's like he knows what I'm about. He was cut off right after. To do next? Zabuza widened his eyes even further. His eyes were practically bulging out of their own sockets. This was unbelievable and weird to a very weird extent. He looks at me with that eye. Infuriating? I think it is. Zabuza gritted his teeth at this with such anger that was being directed right towards Hatake Kakashi himself. You're just copying me. Just pure imitation like a damn monkey. Zabuza shouted lightly, angered at this shitty copycat knowing what he was doing. You can't beat me. I'll kill you. You can't beat me. I'll kill you. Zabuza widened his eyes as they said this at a simultaneous speed. What? There was absolutely no way this could be happening at all. Could he really? Zabuza started to weave multiple hand seals that Kakashi was also doing at the same time. But something quite odd happened. Kakashi managed to finish before he could. What? Tiger? Ox? Monkey? Rabbit? Ram? Boar? Ox? Horse? Monkey? Tiger? Dog? Tiger? Snake? Tiger? Ox? Monkey? Rabbit? Bird? Water release. Giant vortex jutsu. The water rose up meters into the air. Zabuza widened his eyes, being engulfed by the large stream of water right before him. He was now being swirled and stirred around like a person cooking some stew. I can't keep up, Zabuza thought, soon being taken and hitting a tree. Water dripped down his body as he saw Kakashi walk up right in front of him as he was leaning right on the tree. He was tired, absolute tired at that. Tell me, can you look into the future? Yes. And your future is your end. Kakashi had his kunai at being held tightly in between his very own fingertips. He motions his arm and hand to put Zabuza out of his misery. But suddenly, two sunbon needles from far away made itself known to the world and impaled Zabuza's neck with such speed and absolute brutality. They widened their eyes as a person jumped down from a tree that was close to their area and landed right next to the ground that Zabuza laid on. And you are right. He is now dead. Chapter 27. Questions and Answers. That mask. Kakashi thought, eyeing the mask that the person right in front of him had. He narrowed his eyes at the person, analyzing what they were doing. You're a hunter nin. The said hunter nin looked right towards Kakashi and nodded their heads right towards him. It seems like Kakashi was correct at the statement that he just made. You are correct. I am a hunter nin that has been trying to find and take down Momochi Zabuza for quite some time now. Kakashi slowly and just slightly nodded at those words. Thank you for assisting my mission unintentionally. I'll be taking Zabuza away to dispose of him. Kakashi nodded, seeing the hunter nin slowly pick up Zabuza and disappearing with him. This person should be around their age just by hearing and seeing their voice and height. Kakashi thought, looking back at Naruto and the others as they went closer towards him. It seems we are done with fighting. Good job, everyone. They all nodded. It was now time for them all to continue on with the mission that was still ongoing. Just a few seconds after they started walking, Kakashi crashed right on the damp ground. Sensei, Kakashi slowly opened his eyes and seeing a ceiling? He groaned as he tried getting up and moving around. That didn't work at all for him. Suddenly, a person came walking in and looked at Kakashi. He raised an eyebrow, wondering where he was at. Hello, I'm Tsunade. I am Tsunade's daughter. He nodded, now soon realizing where he was now at. He was now at Tsunade's home place. It was quite the large house that he was living in. It was kind of surprising for someone who likes getting drunk. He had at least expected something much more. Shit. No offense to Tsunade, but he seems like the type of person to just waste money on booze and drinks. He probably is. Oh, sensei. Sakura came walking in alongside Tsunade. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, seeing that she was the only person aside from Tsunade who had came walking in the room. Gee, the other must hate me, said Kakashi, sighing now that Hiruzen's theory on Naruto being an Uchiha was all correct and that he was truly an Uchiha, though it seems he was forced to do it because of the situation. But I saw it in his eyes. The fear that overshadowed his own intelligence and skills. How did he overcome it? Does this mean he is hiding something else? Probably. But it's not good to pry in and interrogate him like Ibiki. Kakashi thought, wondering about the enigma named Naruto. Ah, well, Satsuki-san wanted to talk to Naruto about something important. They are just right outside in the woods. Don't worry. They said they won't be gone for too long. Kakashi nodded, knowing what Satsuki wanted to talk to Naruto about. I see, Sakura. Then I guess we should leave them be for now. We wouldn't want to enrage a fox and its vixen. Sakura got a confused look right on her way. What does that mean? Ah, you'll find out once you're older. It doesn't really have much of a definition, but it will make sense. Naruto followed right behind Satsuki. She had said that she wanted to talk to him privately. They then decided to go and talk in the woods that was just right outside the docks. Naruto stood right behind Satsuki with his hands right inside his pockets. What do you want? Satsuki turned right around, glaring right towards Naruto and into his inner and deep soul. Oh, those were the wrong words to use. What do I want? That's the first thing you ask me. Naruto stared at her with his blank face and lifeless eyes. He lightly shrugged, not knowing how to deal with a girl as messed up as Satsuki. Sure. Though I do guess that the words that are spilling right out of my mouth are everything but helpful and good. He heard Satsuki scoff at him. She then looked right down to the ground. Why? Why didn't you at least tell me? Why couldn't you at least trust me with your secret? Naruto felt a lump right on his throat that needed to be swallowed. He did. I don't know. I'm a secretive person, Satsuki. There are things about me that nobody in this world knows about. I'm not really good with talking to people. Sorry. Naruto looked at the ground that Satsuki was staring at. There were teardrops right on the short and grassy ground that the two stood right on. Satsuki looked up at Naruto, 2 lone tears rolling down her face. If only you had told me from the beginning. Maybe we wouldn't be like this. Maybe I wouldn't have felt this lonely. We're friends, best friends. Naruto slightly widened his eyes, turning his gaze away from her. Maybe. But that is only possibilities, huh? We won't really know for sure unless we really did it. Satsuki wiped one of the tears that threatened to roll down her face. I guess, said Satsuki, getting a slight sigh from Naruto himself. He looked right at the teary-eyed Satsuki that was currently right in front of him as of right now. I thought you would be throwing a fit that I didn't tell you that I was an Uchiha. Guess you do care about my own feelings. Naruto felt a slight punch to his arm. Shut up, Naruto. You're a bitch. Naruto shrugged, patting the top of her head. He saw another tear fall down on the grassy ground that the 2 Uchihas stood on. He cursed himself, knowing her fanboys would be enraged if they ever found out what he was about to do. Naruto internally grunted to himself, putting his arms right around Satsuki. He was now hugging her. Someone as pretty as you shouldn't be crying. It'll destroy your face. I hate you. Once Satsuki was finished crying like a baby, the two made their way back towards the household that they were staying at for the next few days or more. They saw Tsunade right on the downstairs floor and glanced at them for a second with a small and soft smile getting plastered right her face at this current moment. Oh, you two are back. Your sensei is now awake. I advise you to go to him and listen what he is about to say. I think it's something serious. They nodded and made their way to the upstairs floors. The two saw the sliding door that Kakashi was currently residing in at the moment. They slid the door open, only to hearing some dangerous news coming from Kakashi's mouth. Zabuza is most definitely alive. How? I thought that Hunter-nin person killed him. They snapped towards Satsuki's voice. Sakura nodded, agreeing right along with her. There should be no way that Zabuza could be alive after what they had just seen. I thought about it for a little bit and soon figured out that he is without a doubt alive. Some eyebrows were raised, curious at what Kakashi saying. How do you know? It's simple. The Senbon needles that struck Zabuza were anything but lethal. But the person was a Hunter-nin, were they not? Don't they knew where to hit and where to not hit? Asked Sakura, getting a slight nod and a sigh from Kakashi in return. Yes, but there is a few things that you should all know. The Hunter-nin that was supposedly after Zabuza took him away from our location. Satsuki raised an eyebrow at this. Does that hold any significance? Yes. Everything that Hunter-nin did had significant value. They are not supposed to be taken away even if there is people nearby. They destroy their corpses right then and there. No hesitation needed. And the other? Those Senbon needles were probably used as a way to put Zabuza in a temporary death-like state. While Senbon are indeed sharp and dangerous, they are not very viable to kill someone due to them rarely able to kill someone. So what do we do? We're definitely not strong enough to defeat them head-on. Satsuki slightly gritted her teeth, frustrated at her own weakness. We just have to prepare quickly. This caused more eyebrows to be raised at them, confused at what Kakashi was saying due to him being absolutely injured to the point where he could barely move. But you can barely move, sensei. Kakashi chuckled lightly at those words. I know. But that doesn't mean I still can't train you. You want us to climb on a tree? Easy. Satsuki readied herself to climb on a tree in a single heartbeat. Kakashi sighed at Satsuki's nature of being a rash individual. You have to climb the trees without using your hands. This caused two eyebrows to raise dramatically up in the air of the living. The two were confused at what Kakashi was asking for them to do. How are we supposed to be doing that? Asked Sakura, confused at such thing. By applying chakra to your feet. See, Kakashi had a pair of wooden crutches that were given to him by Tsunade. He walked right towards the tree that was closest to them. By doing this one simple task, you should be able to improve your chakra control as you evolve throughout this task. And as you should know, chakra control is very necessary for evolution as a fresh ninja and onward from there. They nodded, getting what they meant. Kakashi slightly glanced at Naruto, noticing that he didn't really have much care for this exercise. HM? Are you not satisfied with this exercise, Naruto? He shook his head at him, answering the question that Kakashi had asked him directly. I have already learned it before. Kakashi hummed, finally seeing what he was trying to say. Though this led to another question that he now had due to this. Do you know how to do the other one? Yes. Kakashi sighed, surprised once again by Naruto. He nodded his head and pointed towards a tree that he could stay at. Naruto nodded right back and went to the tree that Kakashi had pointed to. Everyone else, use a kunai to measure yourself and what you have achieved. The two nodded, taking one of the kunais that Kakashi had thrown right on the floor. Kakashi looked at Naruto and made his way towards him. So you're one of the last few Uchihas, huh? Naruto nodded in a very silent manner. Yes, nothing special. Kakashi chuckled lightly at the last two words that came out of Naruto's mouth. Nothing special, huh? You sure a lot more humbler than Satsuki. Naruto nodded, agreeing at that statement. How did she take it? Take what? That you're an Uchiha. Naruto formed a small O with his mouth, now realizing what Kakashi was asking him. He just shrugged, not knowing what to say. We talked just a few meters away from here. She said something about how I should have told her and that I should have trusted her more to keep a secret. Kakashi nodded, standing right beside Naruto. Why didn't you tell her? Naruto sighed, shrugging once more. Satsuki had asked something similar along these lines earlier. He just didn't know why. I don't know. I guess I never really thought of the possibility of my cover being blown and all that jazz. I managed to keep it a secret for 6 years, almost 7. I used the Sharingan many times when I was in the academy and outside of the academy. I just guess I didn't want all the attention. Kakashi Slight raised an eyebrow from his lone eyes. Attention, something similar to Satsuki, where people just praise her. I don't want that. I didn't want to have the burden of being an Uchiha that is always under the spotlight. Naruto looked up slightly up into the sky. Though my personality is much more unlikable than Satsuki, before I came to this village because of the pervy sage, I was always level-headed and not prone to acting on my feelings. Somehow that changed as I grew up in Konoha. Pervy sage? Questioned Kakashi, not knowing who this person was. Oh, it's Jiraiya. Kakashi nodded, understanding what he meant now. Though it wasn't very surprising that Jiraiya was called pervy sage by a kid. A super pervert indeed. I did it. They suddenly heard someone yell from up above. They shot their heads up, wondering who it was. Their eyes traveled up the 2 trees and saw Sakura on top of the tree, celebrating her achievement. As expected, her chakra control is much better than Satsuki's due to having less amount of chakra. Kakashi thought, looking down towards Satsuki. He saw her gritting her teeth with frustration. Kakashi looked back at Naruto. Can you take care of Satsuki? I'll have to get Sakura out of here before Satsuki loses her mind. You make it sound like I'm a babysitter. Kakashi smiled at Naruto, slightly chuckling at those words. It's because I am. CYA. Naruto sighed, nodding his head as he saw Kakashi take Sakura away to the bridge. Naruto looked at Satsuki. It's been another few hours or 2 since then, and Satsuki was getting angry and angry by the second. She fell down right back at the ground. She laid down, panting due to her being tired. You give up? Naruto asked, his head appearing right on top of hers with a blank stare. Satsuki widened her eyes, startled at the sudden move that Naruto had just done. You're seeing me upside down. TCH, shut up. Satsuki sat right up while panting at a continuous rate. She looked right back at Naruto. He was just blankly staring right back Naruto with a glare. When? What do you mean? When did you learn this tree climbing exercise? Satsuki clarified, wanting to know how long Naruto has been hiding such a fact from her. Naruto didn't answer for a moment or two. 7 years. I learned it when I was 5. Satsuki formed a slight pout with her lips as she learned of this bit of information. You're just like my brother. I get that a lot, though I do wonder why. Do you know? Satsuki looked away, nodding her head with a slight grunting at him, with some annoyance being directed to him also. You act like him. You talk like some ancient philosopher that knows every corner about life. Your prodigious and inhuman abilities as a shinobi. And finally, you're an asshole. That last one did pose confusion to Naruto. How am I an asshole? TCH. Did you forget? Remember all those times where you refused to train me? Felt like shit. Though I guess it's fine since you're an Uchiha. And you didn't teach me how to climb on trees. Now I'm falling behind. Naruto gained a blank, puzzled look on his face once more. Trust me, I didn't teach many more things. Satsuki growled at him. And you just made the situation worse. I really don't care. Though I am sure I am much more blunt and straightforward than your brother. Satsuki nodded, agreeing with that statement. Yeah, I can see that. You didn't give me a gift the few days after the massacre. You shit-talked me for a present. Felt like shit. I guess you're right. Naruto laid right beside Satsuki. Give me tips, said Satsuki, suddenly startling Naruto as he looked it dead in the eye. For tree climbing? Satsuki nodded at Naruto, answering the question that he had just asked. Naruto thought about it for a moment before answering the said question. Just be relaxed. I saw that you were acting quite tense and angry at your continuous anger. That's really all I have. Satsuki narrowed her eyes slightly, observing Naruto for a moment. Was he telling the truth? Yes, definitely. No, he was definitely capable of lying. Though Satsuki just believed it because it was a true fact Naruto had given her. Though he noticed that she wasn't doing it. HM? Are you not going to do it? I'll do it later. I have time. Satsuki laid down on the ground. Naruto shrugged and did the same thing as her and laid right on the ground right next to her. This was not a very unfamiliar thing they had done. The two would usually do this if they trained together late at night for an hour or two. They just kept looking at the moon that shined through the night sky that illuminated the entire elemental nations. Though the two would never admit it, they liked each other's presence. Actually, scratch that. Satsuki would be the only one that would never admit it. The two ignored everything around them and just focused their eyes right towards the moon that was lighting up the entire earth with just its presence alone. You're a pretty good person once I got to know you. Naruto hummed. You too, Satsuki. Chapter 28, Thinking and Knowing. Naruto stood right next to Satsuki. She had been training for literal hours, and it was just about time for them to get back to the household. He looked at his side and looked at Satsuki. You ready? Asked Naruto, walking forward and gesturing right towards the direction of the house that they were allowed to stay at for the remainder of the mission. Satsuki scoffed but nodded her head. Yeah, I'm ready. Why else am I standing right up? Naruto stared at her for a few seconds before shrugging his shoulders once and turned away from her. I don't know, maybe to just simply stand up? Yeah? You're the dumbass. Satsuki followed right behind Naruto, looking right at his back. God, this reminded her of the time where Naruto first decided to help her out on her kunai and shuriken throwing. She was grateful for Naruto then and is still grateful for Naruto's help even now. The two passed through the empty woods that they were training in for the past few hours. While Naruto was not training at all, it was just all Satsuki. After a minute or two of complete silence and walking, they had finally came out of the entire forest that was engulfing them before. They saw the bright light that the house emitted. Their feet touched the wooden dock. The two walked through the dock that had water surrounding right around it. They saw the door that was supposed to be the entrance of the house open for them. The two entered without much question. Oh, it seems the two of you have finally made it, said Tsunade, walking down the stairs that led up to the upstairs floor. Lots of food was covering the table. Special occasion? Asked Naruto, smelling the food the way from the door. Tsunade shook her head. chuckling at the question that was being asked by Naruto. No, we have never had this many people over here before, so I thought of making extra food just in case. Naruto and Satsuki nodded and made their way towards the table with their dirty and ragged clothes. Shit, they needed to clean up, but they couldn't. Their stomachs didn't let them do it. They wanted the food that was being served at the table immediately. They settled right down just as Kakashi and Sakura came walking down the stairs. Ah, so you two are finally here. Good. Kakashi and Sakura sat down at the table. The kid, Inari, sat down at the table also. There was a moment of difficult silence between them all. Kakashi broke this with an eye smile and a quick question. So, Satsuki, how much are you improving with the tree climbing exercise? Asked Kakashi, getting a scoff from Satsuki. She stuffed her mouth with food. She swallowed the food that was in her mouth. Good. Naruto gave me a few tips that are helping me along the way. Kakashi looked at Naruto and I smiled at him. Looks like Naruto was able to tame Satsuki to the point where they are friends. Cool. I only gave her one tip. Nothing else. She is exaggerating what she is saying. Naruto stuffed his mouth with food. There was a small bump that formed on his cheek due to him stuffing his face. Relax, Naruto. Why are you in such a rush? Asked Sakura, getting a side glance from Naruto. He swallowed the food down quickly so he would be able to answer the question. I'm hungry. Oh, I guess that's reasonable. It is. Always will be. Naruto continued to stuff his mouth with food. The food was quite good and tasty, but it will never be able to compare to Ichiraku ramen. Now that I think about it, I still haven't used that Ichiraku ramen coupon just yet. We'll have to use it once we get back to the village. Naruto thought, swallowing another chunk of food. Sakura suddenly noticed something. What's that? She pointed towards something from afar. They raised an eyebrow, looking at the direction that she was pointing at. It was a picture that was inside a frame. Tsunade, Tsunade, and Inari were in it as expected, but there was something much more strange about it. There was somebody missing on the portrait photo that they were looking at. Part of the picture had a large piece missing. It was missing a person that was just standing right behind Tsunade and ruffling Inari's head. He was also smiling, Inari they mean. Speaking of Inari, he got off of his seat and walked away from the situating at hand. Tsunade sighed, following right towards Inari, whom just left the room. They looked at Tsunade in complete silence. This must be a very touchy subject for them all. Him? He was named Kaiza. They all listened closely to what Tsunade had to say, and he was the hero of this small town of ours. Oh, this must be a really touchy subject for them. He died just a bit after Gato established that he was taking control of everything of the Land of Waves. He looked right after the door that Inari had just exited with. Inari lost his father, so he never really knew him. So the day he had met Kaiza, a lot of things changed for him. He was like a father that Inari never had. So you must know how he could have felt when he finally met someone like him. They nodded, understanding what Tsunade was saying. He died with a public execution by Gato. It was a way to give us an example on what would happen if we dare defy him and his reign over the Land of Waves. Naruto just had enough of this and walked away from the scene. Where are you going? To train. Naruto walked away, his figure retreating away as he went right outside of the door and into the world full of nature. He stepped foot on the dock. Heroes? Do they really exist? Maybe. I don't know. I guess they do. But at the same time, there really isn't much of a difference between people defining good people and bad people. This is especially true when trying to define if a shinobi is good or bad too. Naruto walked right on the wooden ground. But it seems that Inari Kid is just a quitter. The moment you stop believing in something, they disappear without much question. Naruto thought, soon entering the wood that were practically endless, vast, and limitless. Once Naruto was far enough away, he got ready for training. Dozens, no hundreds of shadow clones of Naruto himself started to appear all around him in just a blink of an eye. He eyed them all with a single glance. He turned on his Sharingan right towards them. Come at me. It was the next day. It seems like there were no signs of Naruto. Hey sensei, shouldn't Naruto be here already? It's dangerous being out there alone. Asked Sakura, tiredly yawning right after the question. Kakashi sighed, nodding his head at Sakura. Yes, we should look for him after this. Eat quickly so we can find him. Sakura nodded. But after just the first bite, there was already a clang of apparent all throughout the room. I'll get him here. Satsuki got up from her seat and walked towards the door. Sakura raised an eyebrow, eyeing Satsuki as she slowly went out of the house. Shouldn't you finish yo? Sakura couldn't finish as Kakashi just tapped her shoulder. She looked back towards him and saw that he was pointing at the table. Satsuki was already finished with her food. Oh! Satsuki sighed as she felt the fresh breeze of the wind brush against her face. God, Naruto was a handful. Seriously, he needed a leash so he could be put down. She entered the forest and continued to walk around the unfamiliar forest that she stood right on. Satsuki slightly grunted in anger. She had no idea where to go. Where the hell did you go? A boy who looked like a girl walked through the endless and vast forest. He had a basket hanging right off of his hand as she walked around trying to find herbs. What's this? He thought, seeing a person from afar. He slightly widened his eyes as he saw Naruto laying on the ground, completely asleep and all that jazz. Zabuza said that he wanted to kill him and Kakashi by himself. Is he this much of a threat? He thought, narrowing his eyes as he gazed at Naruto. He slowly brought his hand up. His hand hovered right above Naruto's neck. But if I do it, I'll be disobeying Zabuza. He retreated his hand away and thought of a much easier and simpler way of doing this all. He took his hand, poked Naruto's arm. No reaction. He sighed and did another poke to the arm, but only much harder this time. This caused Naruto to slowly stir up awake. He groggily woke up and sat up. Huh? Who are you? Why are you here? Naruto asked. He got a soft smile in return. My name is Haku. I am here collecting herbs for my injured friend. What's your name? Haku asked. Naruto thought about it for a moment or two. Ahiku Naruto, said Naruto, responding to Haku's question that he had just asked him. Haku nodded, noticing that his first name was Fishcake and Maelstrom. I see. He looked up and saw Naruto's forehead proctor. It seems that you are affiliated with a village. Konoha, I think. Naruto nodded at that, confirming Haku's suspicion. There was a moment of silence that was soon broken by Haku's sudden question. Naruto, do you have someone precious? He asked, getting a slight eyebrow raised right at him. Naruto thought about it for a moment, trying to find a person that he wanted to protect. Satsuki. And everyone else. Naruto looked at Haku and nodded his head. Yes, why? Asked Naruto, narrowing his eyes slightly. Haku just had a soft smile right on her face that had yet to be broken throughout the whole entire conversations. Because I believe that somebody can only become truly strong when they have something or someone that they want to protect. Naruto slightly widened his eyes for a brief second. Satsuki walked through the forest trying to look for the missing Naruto. When she had left the house earlier, Satsuki thought that this was going to be an easy find. Guess she was wrong on all levels. God, Naruto sure was at a difficult spot to fucking find. Satsuki soon saw two people from afar. She squinted her eyes and saw the two people exactly. One was Naruto and the other was a girl. Satsuki thought, seeing the unknown person slowly walk away from Naruto. She narrowed her eyes at the unknown girl that she was walking past. She did not like her one bit. Why? Isn't it obvious? Naruto saw Satsuki approach him with that look in her eyes. Oh, he was absolutely fucked. What? Why are you looking at me like that? He asked, wondering why she was glaring at him. Who were you talking to? The person was named Haku. He's a guy if you were wondering. Satsuki slightly widened her eyes, narrowing her eyes right at the suspicious Naruto right in front of her. A guy? Huh? How can you be so sure? He looks exactly like a girl. Isn't it obvious? The hell do you mean? It's not obvious at all. Naruto shrugged his shoulders, confused on why she was getting so worked up by. It wasn't anything important. He was collecting herbs for a person. He must be quite well versed in his knowledge of medicine. Satsuki scoffed, though nodding in agreement. Though it was now time for Satsuki to continue to train. I'll wait until you're finished. You should be done in another hour or two. You progressed quickly in the tree climbing exercise quite quickly. Naruto walked over to the nearest tree to him but farthest tree from Satsuki. As expected of myself. Naruto leaned right on a tree as he watched Satsuki progress in the exercise even more every second that went on. He then looked up into the sky above. Shikamaru always said he wanted to be a cloud. Must be the dream of his. Though it is understandable for someone as lazy as him. Naruto thought, looking back down to see Satsuki's progress. She is just about there. Now that I think about it, I haven't talked with him or the others in quite some time. I've just been caught up doing all of this. Naruto thought, a small genuine smirk appearing right on his face. Though Shikamaru's team probably hasn't made much progress in getting stronger. They're quite problematic. Naruto thought, finally seeing that Satsuki was finally done with the exercise after numerous amounts of thoughts escaping Naruto's head. Satsuki dropped towards the ground and walked towards Naruto. Train me. Naruto looked up and saw Satsuki looming right over him with an ominous aura riding all around her. Naruto sighed and got up to stand right on his feet. Why? TCH, so I kill Itachi. Naruto gave her a side glance before shrugging his shoulders lightly, signaling that he agrees on training her. She slightly brightened up before making her way to the other side. You know, I'll get stronger until the day where you and I are equals in strength. Equals, huh? Yes, equals. Now, let's get started with this spar. Naruto sighed, getting into his stance. The two locked eyes with each other just moments later. As they sparred an endless amount, Naruto just couldn't stop thinking about what Haku had said to him. Who I hold precious to myself. You ask difficult questions, Hunter Nin. How are you not tired? Asked Satsuki, panting like crazy as the sunset was rolling down on them. Naruto looked at Satsuki, sighing right back at her. You don't see it, but I am very much tired. I am just good at hiding it. Just how good you hid that you were an Uchiha? Naruto gave her a weird look before raising an eyebrow straight towards Satsuki without hesitation needed. You want to talk about it again? No, absolutely not. I am not crying like a little girl again. Naruto shrugged, walking right past Satsuki. But he must admit, Naruto was amused at Satsuki saying that. You know, crying is fine. My father said it showed weakness. I will never show weakness ever again. Naruto gave her a puzzled look. Fugaku. Huh? So he was that type of person. I guess that's what your father thought was showing weakness. Maybe he was right, crying is a state where you are most emotional, MOT vulnerable. But maybe he was wrong. Crying is also such a tragic thing. But it can be such a beautiful sight. Naruto looked up into the horizon. Crying is something that makes us human. Satsuki looked at Naruto with a slight pout being created with her lips at that current moment. You sound like a therapist. I guess so. But we have to go and eat. It's just about time for dinner. Satsuki nodded, knowing that he was right in that sense. The two started walking away into the vast and endless forest once again. The two arrived at the house once more. Tsunade gained a nasty look on his face. Naruto, you smell like crap. Clean yourself up, Tsunade suggested. Naruto knew he was right about that sense and went to the bathroom and took a shower to was hen up for the day. I haven't took a shower in 2 days, said. Naruto thought, walking out of the shower and wearing a pair of new fresh clothing that went right over his body parts. Naruto got out and walked right down the stairs. He sat right around the table and waited for everyone else to come and sit around. Kakashi came walking in with only one crutch this time around. You've healed quite well, said Tsunade, getting a nod from Kakashi of the Sharingan. He chuckled slightly, nodding his head at the statement that was just made. I have. Dinner is just about ready. Tsunami was just making last-second preparation nows. She brought the food towards the table and placed it right at the center. It looked tasty. Really tasty. Dig in. Naruto and Satsuki immediately started eating the exact nanosecond she had said those 2 words right out of her mouth. Oh, they were fucking monsters when eating. Don't you think you should relax when eating? Asked Kakashi, surprised at the speed that they were able to eat. Satsuki and Naruto swallowed the portions of food that they had stuffed in. I rushed my food so I could find Naruto. I didn't even eat the whole day. Kakashi slightly chuckled at those 2 responses. These 2 were like exact copies of one another. To make it even worse, they were both Uchihas who were the last of their kind. Why? Why do you guys keep trying? Everyone suddenly grew silent and looked at the person just voiced themselves to everyone present at the table. It was Inari. Your efforts on defeating Gato is pointless. He is way too strong. He has the money and men to back it up. You even said it yourself, he has a real assassin working for him. There was tears that was spilling down his face. You all don't know what we went through, what this whole land has been through because of Gato. You all have been living in a place full of luxury. Naruto clenched his hands into a tight fist. The last time I checked, you don't know us either. This immediately silenced Inari up. Naruto looked at Inari with his blank and dull face and lifeless eyes. Thinking and actually knowing are two different words with different meaning. Thinking you know someone is nothing but half-assed things. But actually knowing someone is concrete. You think but you don't know. This made Inari widen his eyes. Your beliefs about ninjas may be true about some but not every person that exists then or now. Thus making your beliefs merely just assumptions and everything but concrete. Naruto turned away from the table. Don't think you can just generalize ninjas and shinobi alike in just one large category/group. Naruto slowly walked away with intent to go into sleep. Because I'll prove you wrong. Chapter 29. Uchiha's Power. Are you not going to wake Naruto up? Asked Tsunade, pointing right towards the Naruto that was peacefully sleeping right on the ground below. Kakashi smiled at her, nodding his head as a response. He needs it. Once he wakes up, tell him that we're at the bridge. He knows where it is. Tsunade nodded, knowing exactly what to do when times like this are at odds. Once everything was settled, the team went right on out of household and walked right on the wooden deck alongside Tsunade himself. They were now in a hurry to finish this bridge. As they all walked, Tsunade brought out a brilliant question. What are the chances that Zabuza and his little wacky are going to appear? Asked Tsunade, hoping for a very low probability with chances being around just below 10%. Kakashi went silent for a few seconds or two before fully answering the question that was just given to him by Tsunade. Around 60% is fair enough, though the chances may lower as time goes on. This made them have their eyes bulge right out of their own sockets at these answers. What the hell? That can't be true at all. Kakashi sighed. It's the sad truth. But also don't forget that not only can the percentage get lower, but it can also go even higher than it is now. Kakashi was just continuously spilling the bad news to them all. After minutes upon minutes of walking, they had finally made it to the bridge that was almost completed. But as soon as they got there, they stopped walking with widened eyes. There were bodies on the ground. Shit, everyone. Surround Tsunade. The other two nodded and surrounded the bridge builder, Tsunade. They looked around, tensing up in the process. They were now entering a potential battle. He's here, isn't he? Asked Satsuki, getting a nod from the Cyclops himself. The two were shaking in their bodies, readying themselves to battle to the death. Suddenly, mist started to form all around them. Shit, now they were sure Zabuza and his little buddy were here. The mist started to thicken without much problem. Hatake Kakashi, they heard someone say. It was so masculine and deadly to the T. Oh yeah, it was definitely Zabuza without a single doubt going through their brain. Suddenly, multiple Zabuzas appeared right around them. Their eyes narrowed down and looked at all of the Zabuzas that had just appeared all around them all. It was just water clones that was surrounding them. But where was the real Zabuza? It seems like your genin are scared beyond insanity, said one of the water clones. Satsuki shaking like before when they had first faced off a few days ago. Tsh, scared? Me? Think again. In an instant, all the water clones were destroyed in a single slash. The sliced-up Zabuza water clones became nothing but a pile of water that was on the ground of the bridge that they all stood on. It seems like you have a rival, said Zabuza, slowly appearing in the thick mist that covered the whole area around them. But it was not only Zabuza there, but someone else also. The hunter Nin. Naruto slowly awoke from sleeping through the whole day. He sat right up and looked around the room. He raised an eyebrow, seeing that no one was there. Are they at the bridge? Shit, Naruto thought, getting right up and putting on his attire for the day. Naruto slightly groaned, walking down the stairs where Tsunade was at. Are the others at the bridge? Asked Naruto, getting a nod from Tsunade in return. They are. Your sensei thought it would be a good idea for you rest for the day. He said something about you training way too hard. Naruto nodded, understanding what she was saying to him. He didn't think you would wake up for the day. Naruto formed an O with his mouth before nodding his head once more. He made his way out of the house. I'll get going. Naruto ran out of the door and onto the wood deck that was just right outside the house that Tsunade and the other had allowed them all to stay in. Naruto ran into the woods and applied chakra towards his feet. He walked up the trunk of the tree and stood on the thick branch that was sticking right outside of the tree. I should be able to get there in 10 minutes. Naruto thought, jumping right on a tree. He was observing his surroundings very carefully for any suspicious along the way. While Naruto was in midair, he saw something to the side of him. He raised an eyebrow. A dead boar. Naruto thought, stopping his momentum and looked at the dead boar that was laying right on the ground. He furrowed his eyebrows, jumping right on the ground. Naruto walked right up towards the boar and observed it carefully. HM? It seems to me that someone was practicing their sword skills. Naruto thought, looking all around him. There were marks on the tree that indicated that someone was here. This boar hasn't rotten too, so it must have been recently. Naruto thought, looking even further from their current starting point. He narrowed his eyes as he saw more marks up ahead. They marks lead to Tsunade's house. Naruto thought, retracing his steps once more. Naruto looked back as he made his way towards Tsunade's house. Sorry, I'll be there later. Naruto thought, turning his away once more and focusing on getting back and seeing if his suspicions were true. Though he had a sneaking suspicion that his suspicion was true, Naruto jumped from tree to tree, slightly gritting his teeth. There could be a chance that he was too late and that he had let the two of them in the house to die when he could have changed it. Two men barged into the house that Tsunade and Inari were in. She widened her eyes, turning around and saw the two of them with their own weapons. Who are you? Asked Tsunade, using a ladle to protect herself with. The two laughed, not even provoked one bit by her so-called weapon of choice. That ladle won't help you at all. I asked you, who are you? Tsunade gripped the ladle even tighter than before. The two had a menacing glare as they readied themselves just in case she would try and retaliate. You want to know? It's quite simple, really. We're here to take you hostage. Inari was peering right behind a wall. The two caught sight of him and sent him a murderous glare in return. Tsunade widened her eyes. Inari, don't get closer, she yelled, looking at him dead in the eyes. He froze, frightened at the presence of the two gang members that were right in front of him. Now, we need to get you to Gato. They pulled her arm and yanked her away. She struggled to break free of their grasp. They were too fucking strong. Your attempts to break free is nothing but futile efforts. One snarled at her, dragging her away even harder. Tsunade felt the pain course through her arms as she was taken right outside of the dock. Just when they were a few meters away from the house, they heard a voice. Hey, eat this, someone yelled from behind. They looked behind and saw Inari throw two empty cans right at their face. The sharp metal cut their cheeks. Blood slid down their faces. You brat, they yelled, letting go of Tsunade and making their way towards the little boy in question. They unsheathed their blades and were ready to slice Inari in half. He gulped, seeing as this was now the end of the line for him. Inari, Tsunade yelled, trying to get up from her position. Just before the blade could reach Inari, another voice made itself clear to the world around them. Don't move, they heard behind them. They froze almost immediately due to the coldness of the voice that was directed right towards them. Inari disappeared in a split second and appeared sitting on the deck. He widened his eyes, looking right in front of him. The two looked around and saw Naruto looking at them. You two are wasting my time, said Naruto, pulling out a kunai from his holster and holding it tightly in his hands. The two members of Gato's gang got a smirk on their faces. It's just another kid. Let's get him. The other nodded, rushing right towards Naruto like a speeding bullet. Though they were obviously much slower than a speeding bullet, Naruto just stood there, completely silent. What's wrong? Scared out of your mind? One yelled, gripping his katana so tightly that the hilt could shatter in absolute pieces. Naruto did not do anything at all, just this made them uneasy. In a split second, Naruto appeared right in front the two. "I'm just out of your league," said Naruto, using his leg and brought it up to kick one of their faces. "HHH," he yelled, feeling the pain rise up to his face. More blood slithered right down his face as he fell to the ground, feeling the agony of the pain that risen to his brain. Naruto ducked down to avoid a katana being struck through his brain. He looked up with his deadly but lifeless eyes and did one slick and fast motion with his kunai. In a split second, a large gash appeared on the last man's chest. He widened his eyes, not paying attention to the fact that Naruto maneuvered his way around him and kicked him in the head. Blood splattered right on the deck. Those two were knocked out clean. Naruto stretched his limbs and looked right at Inari. "You know, you did surprisingly good out here." Inari widened his eyes. Naruto yawned lightly, walking right past Inari. Just before he left, Naruto said something. "Crying is necessary. It's what makes us human." Satsuki and Haku clashed. Her kunai and his senbon needle were battling for the tide of the battle every single second that passed. Satsuki gritted her teeth slightly, though it seems like Haku was barely breaking a sweat. "Give up. I wouldn't want to kill a kid that is much younger than me." Haku had a very calm voice that made it seem like he wasn't having a hard time, and he wasn't. "I already have an advantage against you. The first one is the water clones that Zabuza-sama had created and that you destroyed." He was now moving on to the next one. His other hand started to get closer to his mask. "The second is that I have your hand locked. You are going to have to block my next move with your other arm." Haku started to form hand seals with just one hand. Satsuki widened her eyes. "Shit, one hand," Satsuki thought, trying to jump away in time for her next jutsu. But it seems Haku had other plans and locked Satsuki's fingers tightly. "1,000 water needles of death." Satsuki widened her eyes, seeing Haku stomp on the water to make it rise up and form sharp needles that were ready to attack Satsuki. She thought of a quick and simple plan to escape. Satsuki felt Haku stop gripping her fingers with his own to back away from his own attack. Satsuki used this time to launch right up in the air and pull out just about 3 kunai from her holster that was right on her leg. Without any hesitation, Satsuki threw the kunais right towards Haku. He dodged by backing away just a few meters away. Haku looked up into the air and saw Satsuki soon disappear in the blink of an eye. He widened his eyes and he felt the wind rush right behind him. "From here on out, I will be the only one dealing the attacks." Haku dodged a punch that was aimed right towards him. He moved back just a couple inches away to dodge another. He held his senbon needle tightly as the two clashed once more. Satsuki pulled out another kunai and aimed it right towards Haku's head. He quickly dodged but couldn't react fast enough to block Satsuki's kick that kicked her away. Zabuza slightly widened his eyes at the sight in front of him. "Haku is being defeated?" "No." Zabuza glared at the incomplete Team 7. He saw Haku stand right back up. Zabuza eyed Haku with his 2 eyes piercing right behind him. "Haku, do it now," said Zabuza, ordering Haku to do something that will, without a doubt, turn the tide of the battle towards their own side of the spectrum. "Yes, Zabuza-sama." Haku did a special hand seal. Demonic mirroring ice crystals. Satsuki widened her eyes at the feeling of the air that was looming all around them. Such cold air. Satsuki thought, readying herself for any possible attacks going right towards her, though she did not expect ice forming all around her area. Mirrors? Satsuki thought, observing everything all around her. It seems like there were ice mirrors that Haku had created. She never saw such a jutsu before. Kakashi widened his eyes. "That's a Kekii Genkai." Satsuki and Sakura widened their eyes. Hearing those 2 words escape from his mouth gave them terrible chills to the spine. Satsuki gritted her teeth. Haku entered one of the mirrors. Now every ice mirror that surrounded Satsuki contained a Haku of their own. She looked around, heavily huffing and huffing. Shit, she was completely trapped. "Now, I'll show you how speed truly looks like." Haku threw a senbon right towards Satsuki. She didn't have any room to react and suddenly felt the senbon needle cut a bit of her sleeve and gave her a slight cut to the skin. Satsuki widened her eyes, feeling another senbon needles pierce her skin once more. "HHH!" Satsuki yelled, feeling the intense and sharp pain wash all over her body. Haku shot another senbon right towards Satsuki. pierced her skin also. Give up. It is not my intention to kill any of you. Satsuki scowled and growled at Haku. It doesn't matter. You're going down, yelled Satsuki, huffing from the amount of pain that she was currently experiencing all through her body. God, she was fucking tired. Just before all the Hakus that surrounded her threw another round of Senbon needles, Satsuki started to form hand seals. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Satsuki inhaled. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. She then exhaled and blasted a large fireball from her mouth. She watched as the fireball made its way right towards one of the mirrors. The fireball did absolutely nothing. Satsuki widened her eyes at the sight. Your fire that you sent will do absolutely nothing. That level of fire is nothing but food for the ice mirrors. She gritted her teeth at this news. Just before Haku could send another round of Senbon needles, someone appeared right beside Satsuki. She widened her eyes, seeing the person right next to her. It seems you're in trouble. You finally made it, Naruto. He did not respond and just readied himself for battle. He heard Satsuki get up from the ground and stood right next to him. You could have attacked from the outside. Naruto shrugged at her. Yes, but the chances of it failing are fairly high. If it failed, then I wouldn't be able to get in since she will know that I am around. Satsuki scoffed, getting into her stance. Naruto activated his 3 Tomo Sharingan. I saw what happened while I was sneaking around. I'll need this to help us. Satsuki nodded, knowing that his increase in perception will indeed be helpful in this entire fight. Alright, now it's 2-on-1. Let us see who will be the victor of this battle. Naruto saw multiple Senbon get sent right towards them. He grabbed Satsuki and pulled her with him as he jumped back. But he didn't expect the Hakus that surrounded them to jump right out of their mirrors and attack them as they flashed by in an instant. But he was still able to see them. I can see it, but I don't know if I'm fast enough to dodge, Naruto thought, yanking Satsuki with him as the pair dodged another round of Senbon needles. She gritted her teeth, letting herself go from Naruto's grip. I can take care of myself. Just tell me what to do once you see what he does or she. Naruto sighed, looking all around them. He shook his head at her. I can't. While I can see them, they will hit me once I finish saying to do. Just follow my lead. Satsuki scowled before nodding at him. She started to closely look at Naruto. Haku readied himself to throw another round. Naruto looked at one of the Hakus. His eyes spun wildly as he analyzed and pierced through what Haku was currently doing. Naruto saw him pull back his arm. Jump in the air. Naruto jumped in the air as he saw Haku throwing the Senbon needle right towards them. He panted, feeling nervous. He looked around and saw the Hakus once again get out of their mirrors and launch themselves at Naruto and Satsuki and attack them one by one before they went back to different spots. The two fell right on the ground. Fuck. I'm not fast enough to dodge all of the Hakus all at once, Naruto thought, looking around once more. He was looking everywhere but this one spot. Haku threw a Senbon right towards Satsuki while Naruto was not looking. She widened her eyes, feeling her life flash all around her all at once. What the? Satsuki thought, slowly seeing herself become much more perceptive. She jumped to the side, her Sharingan spinning wildly. Satsuki widened her eyes at this type of feeling coursing all around her entire body and eyes. I got it, the Sharingan. Naruto looked at Satsuki, eyes slightly widened at the sight in front of him. So, she finally managed to get the Sharingan? It seems so. 2 Tomo and 1 Tomo. Weird, Naruto thought, jumping right next to Satsuki in an instant. It seems I don't have to baby you anymore. You never had to. Naruto shrugged, disagreeing with her on that type of statement that she had just made. But the real problem the two now had were endurance. They were continuously moving to dodge the attacks being made by Haku. The two gritted their teeth, feeling the fatigue that was coursing all around their body. I don't think we can keep going for longer than 5 to 10 more minutes, Naruto thought, looking at Satsuki with worried eyes. He turned away and looked back towards all the Hakus that surrounded them. Naruto felt his heartbeat go rapid. Satsuki, I'll provide a distraction. You try and shatter a mirror. She nodded, getting ready for the distraction that Naruto was telling her about. Naruto summoned a dozen of shadow clones right beside him. They all did the same hand seals. Snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. All them shot out a ball of fire right out of their mouths. They all did this in different sides so they could block Haku's view of them. Satsuki. Now. She nodded, jumping right towards on of the mirrors. But they had underestimated Haku's guts to go through the fire and fell to the ground. Satsuki, they mean. The two saw the burn marks on all of the Hakus that illuminated their sight. The two gritted their teeth as Satsuki recovered her balance. She stood up and winced at the pain she was receiving. Naruto felt his heart beat even faster and faster. Fuck. I don't know how to damn counter these ice mirrors. I don't have a fire jutsu that exceeds the endurance of the ice mirrors. Naruto thought, lost in thought as he felt the frustration boil up from within. Haku noticed Naruto lost in thought and did another round of senbon from Naruto's front. Satsuki widened her eyes as she noticed what Haku was doing. Naruto, watch out, she yelled, jumping right in front of Naruto. He widened his eyes at the sight. Satsuki was right in front of Naruto, shielding him from getting pierced by the senbon needles that were supposed to be directed at him. Satsuki. She fell down on the ground, unable to move. His eyes twitched as he fell down to his knees and looked at Satsuki. She looked back with a weak look. Why? Why would you do that? Satsuki gave him a light smirk. It was my turn to save you. Naruto froze, feeling everything around him tune out. Only he existed. Endless thoughts and questions. She had the need to save him. I would have survived. Naruto thought, feeling a single tear roll down his face. Why was he feeling so lonely? He felt Satsuki stop moving. He felt Satsuki's heartbeat. He widened his eyes. She's alive. But all I feel is hatred. Naruto heard Haku start talking behind him. Is this your first time seeing a comrade die? Naruto froze once more, the hatred bubbling inside of him. He looked back towards Haku, his 3 Tomo Sharingan no longer there. No, it was something much powerful. The Tomos doubled and was connected with a thick black circle that surrounded his pupil. He stayed silent, his deadly and sharp eyes spinning wildly. Haku suddenly felt the wind become wild. I'll kill you, said Naruto in such a calm but dangerous tone. A gray aura started to rise from his body. A gray skeletal-like ribcage formed all around him. More. An arm and hand formed. More. Naruto thought, finally surrounded by a complete skeletal Susanoo. Naruto slowly picked up Satsuki off the ground. He slowly stood up and regained his balance on the ground. A lone tear escaped his eyes as he looked at Haku with his lifeless eyes. He had Satsuki in a bridal carry. He just stood there, feeling the power course through his body. Haku, said Naruto, his voice chilly to the bone. I finally have a concrete answer. To your question. The wind felt even more intense than before as Naruto took a step towards the mirrors. I'll protect Satsuki with my life, even if I fall into the Uchiha's curse of hatred. Chapter 30, Aftermath. Naruto stood as the Susanoo protected him and Satsuki from potential danger. The wind was intense and suffocating to breathe in. Haku widened his eyes as he felt the power of Naruto ooze right off of him as he took another step. So this was the real power of Uchiha Naruto, huh? Haku persevered the intensity of the power and tried throwing senbon needles from all sides of the ice mirrors that surrounded Naruto and Satsuki. But the senbon needles did nothing but bounce right off of the Susanoo without even damaging the ethereal warrior in the same process. The Susanoo moved due to Naruto's desire to attack. With just one simple and overwhelming punch, Naruto and his Susanoo shattered numerous ice mirrors with barely any effort needed. Haku widened his eyes, hearing the ice mirrors create shattering and piercing noise. Naruto had barely any knowledge on how to use the Susanoo that surrounded him. I won't let you hurt my comrades or Satsuki. Naruto saw Haku appear right behind his Susanoo. This easily caught her off guard due to Naruto being able to track her with such ease. His Manjikyu Sharingan glowed in the thick mist that covered the area around them. And I also won't let you hurt Zabuza-sama. Haku moved around Naruto's Susanoo and tried finding a way to break it and find a way through such a defense. I guess we both have something we want to protect, said Naruto, destroying the rest of the ice mirrors that surrounded them all. Haku jumped away, appearing right side of the bridge. What the hell? What's that power? Zabuza questioned, feeling the overflowing power that was radiating right off of Naruto. Kakashi, too, had no idea on what it was. Is that an ability of the Sharingan? Kakashi thought, using his forearms block the waves of air that was ripping everything apart. Naruto looked up and met eyes with Haku. Naruto laid Satsuki down on the ground. He slightly gritted his teeth. His body was experiencing pure pain that washed all over his body in an instant. But he managed to handle some of it and continue right onward. He looked at Haku once more before jumping in the air. Haku countered by dodging and getting right off of the bridge. He landed on the water that was just below the bridge itself. Naruto followed also by applying chakra to Hai's feet and landing on the unstable water that was wavering every second. The two stood toe-to-toe in front of each other. It seems we are both prodigious people in our own right, said Haku, pulling out even more senbon needles. Naruto didn't disagree, but he also didn't agree. Naruto pulled out a kunai from his holster and held it tightly. He jumped towards Haku with his intense and suffocating power that washed over all. The wind backed away as Naruto used his Susanoo to throw and punch right towards Haku. He slightly widened his eyes behind the mask of his and barely dodged the overwhelming power of the punch. Naruto threw him an onslaught of punches. Haku appeared right behind the strong defense and tried destroying the gray skeleton that covered Naruto and protected him. But he slightly widened his eyes as he saw the punch do nothing to the Susanoo. What kind of power is this? Haku thought, backing away from the Susanoo just in case something dangerous was about to happen. Naruto calmly turned around and looked at Haku dead in the face. His Susanoo brought up one of its trusty arms and smacked the water with its fist. The water started overflow all around the area. Haku widened his eyes, jumping away to avoid the amount of water that he had to endure at that exact and current moment. Naruto balanced himself as he jumped right towards Haku. He then disappeared and reappeared right behind Haku to punch him in the back with his Susanoo. Haku widened his eyes, feeling the pain erupt from his body. He was then launched in the air, the pain coursing all throughout his body. But Haku persevered through the pain and landed right on the water once more. Haku then moved away and ran up the sides of the bridge that they were right next to. Naruto saw this and followed Haku without much hesitation to his own name. Haku was now right back on the bridge that he and everyone else had started on. Right next to you, said Naruto, appearing right beside Haku in an instant. He widened his eyes, feeling his insides rupture due to the punch that Naruto had delivered. This is payback. Naruto had his Susanoo pull back its arm to charge up a fist. Haku had no time to react due to the overwhelming pain that was washing all over his body of his. His mask broke into pieces as he was launched away once again. He landed on the ground and laid right on the ground of the bridge. Haku painfully and slowly got up from his pained and defeated position. Naruto slowly walked right towards Haku. His mask started to fall apart in utter pieces. Zabuza-sama, I have failed. Haku thought as Naruto launched himself right towards the unmasked Haku. Naruto's Susanoo balled up its hand and turned it into a fist. Just as the fist was about to connect itself with Haku's face, Naruto suddenly stopped. His rage, his hatred, it boiled down. He couldn't. Was this what a person calls remorse? Why was he feeling remorse towards his enemies? Naruto clenched his fists as his Susanoo slowly started to disappear. Was what you said just an empty promise that you couldn't keep up? You said you would protect that girl with your life, but you are failing to do so. Do you actually not care for her as much as you say you do? Naruto gritted his teeth with his jaws clenching tightly. Shut up, said Naruto, bringing himself to punch Haku in the face. He was backed away and knocked to the ground. Haku slowly got back up. Do you know what happens when we are not needed by someone? Asked Haku, blood trickling down his face and mouth. He was in absolute pain in every part of his body. We lose meaning, the meaning of our own very existence. This day and moment has shown that I have no more use for someone like Zabuza-sama. Just do it. Kill me. Why? Why would you do this for someone like Zabuza? He has done rotten things. His eyes turned right back to its natural azure blue eyes like before. You're smart, but even the smartest of people have their flaws. I like Zabuza-sama has done rotten things. And when the time called for it, I was all alone, starving and dying. Naruto tightly clenched his hands into a strong and tight fist. But I saw hope and light in Zabuza-sama. He saved me and gave me a reason to live in such a cold and dangerous world. Zabuza-sama found use in me, a tool. Naruto looked down, angrily gazing down at the ground. He saw my gifts as a shinobi. He trained me, he gave me a reason to exist. And now, here I am, now a rusty tool that has done its job until the very end. I am replaceable. Haku took a step forward towards Naruto. So, please, end my life. They suddenly heard a crackling noise from far away. Naruto looked back, seeing light. Lightning chakra through the endless and thick mist that covered the whole area. Raikiri. Haku stopped for a moment and saw this. He immediately dashed right forward, ignoring Naruto's wide eyes. Excuse me, but this shall be the last thing I do before I die. That is to save Zabuza-sama. Haku launched himself forward, going even faster than before. Naruto followed right behind him. He then suddenly felt the backlash of using his Manjikyu Sharingan. Naruto dropped to the ground, feeling the pain surround his body. Shit, why now? Naruto thought, bringing his hand up to his eyes and covering them. He caressed his eyes to reduce and lessen the pain that he was experiencing. Haku saw Kakashi about to finish off Zabuza in an instant. Hounds had pinned Zabuza tightly, no allowing him to even move a single damn inch anywhere. This is your end. Kakashi threw his jutsu Raikiri right towards Zabuza's heart. But he stopped instantly once he saw a blur go right in front of him. He widened his eyes, seeing Haku take the Raikiri to the heart for Zabuza. Naruto arrived, widening his eyes at this also. He stopped, staring at this moment for eternity. Not only has he sacrificed himself for my cause, but he also created an opportunity, yelled Zabuza, using his executioner's blade to spin right around and try and kill Kakashi in one single slash. But Kakashi managed to dodge and bringing Haku alongside him. He sighed, closing Haku's lifeless and dead eyes for him. Naruto just stood still as the two fought in a very hollowing way. I'm losing. My touch, the conviction that I once hold is no longer there. Naruto thought, looking down at the ground below. He has grown way too soft for his own good. How did I let this happen? Was it because of Satsuki? No, definitely not. She fuels it actually. But the only other logical answer is the village, Konoha. Naruto looked back up, observing the fight that was right in front of him. This village. It changed me. I should have let that happen. Naruto thought, seeing Kakashi stab Zabuza with a kunai right in his arm. Now he could only use the arm that wielded the executioner's blade. Kakashi appeared right behind Zabuza, maneuvering another kunai towards his other arm. He gritted his teeth, using all of his strength to wield the executioner's blade. But Kakashi managed to stab his arm that wielded it before he had to dodge the blade itself. There, that should be it. Just before Kakashi could do anything else, they heard a bunch of claps and steps walking right towards them. They looked at the direction and narrowed their eyes. I must say, Zabuza, you surely did disappoint me. Gato saw Haku laying on the ground, dead. He saw this opportunity to poke some fun. He had a large cane right in his hand. Gato walked right towards Haku's dead corpse and poked his cheek with his cane. You disrespectful brat. This is my payback. You almost broke my damn wrist. He looked at his wrist and saw the bruise that he had sustained from Haku's strength. Naruto looked at Zabuza. Are you not going to do something? Naruto asked, expecting Zabuza to actually do something to stop Gato from doing what he was currently doing. Haku is dead. Do you not understand that? You too. You spent years together. Do that not mean nothing? Naruto took a slight step, narrowing his eyes right at Zabuza. He side-glanced at Naruto. This is the life of a shinobi. We all control each other for our own greater purpose. What I did to Haku is no different what Gato did to me. Naruto clenched his fist. Fuck you, Zabuza. Naruto glared, walking right past him. Kakashi tried reaching out to stop Naruto, but the pain made him regret that decision. Naruto, don't. But he ignored him and stood right in front of the all. TCH, you refuse to do something so simple. You care about Haku, but at the same time you pretend you don't. Naruto pushed his hand into his holster and pulled out a kunai. You lack the conviction in your words that won't make me believe such bullshit. Naruto got ready to fight the army of such useless and pitiful gang members that were hired by Gato. If you're not going to do it, then I will. Just before Naruto could launch himself right towards Gato, someone kicked him back away. Naruto sighed, now looking up at the sky. Your words. They are vile. There were tears running down Zabuza's face. Oh, he was crying. Naruto's eyes gazed right up the sky that was being covered in pure mist. Give me your kunai. This was directed right towards Naruto. He nodded, throwing his kunai right towards Zabuza while he laid flat on the ground. Zabuza caught it with his mouth. He gripped it tightly as he maneuvered his way towards Gato. He widened his eyes, quickly running away from Zabuza and made his way back to his gang members. Get him! Protect me! He yelled, running in the army and going to the edge of the unfinished bridge. Gato gulped in fear, eyes widening a considerable amount at the sight in front of him. Zabuza caught sight of Gato and glared right at his soul. The endless gang members tried stabbing Zabuza, but all it did was fuel Zabuza's anger and hatred for Gato. He made it out of the endless hired gang members and appeared right in front of Gato. He backed away, fearing for the end of his own life that he so desperately wanted to keep and save. Zabuza, we can talk about this. I can give you anything you want. He tried getting on Zabuza's good side to save himself from his own unexpected death. But he didn't listen and used the kunai that he was gripping down with his mouth to stab Gato repeatedly. He felt the pain from the kunai piercing and tearing down his own flesh. Gato looked at his hired gang members. Help! Me! He called out weakly. They nodded and charged right behind Zabuza with their weapons. He stopped for a moment, looking at Gato with such pure fury, and in a split second, Gato was falling right off the unfinished bridge. The weapons that he was stabbed by fell off of his body and dropped right down on the ground below. The ex-hired gang members backed away in fear. Zabuza started to limp right across, making his way towards Haku. He was so close, but yet he was so far away from Haku. Zabuza crashed down on the ground, slowly dying. Naruto slowly sat and looked at the ex-hired gang members right in front of him. He sighed with one eye closed and him panting due to his tiredness. The ex-hired gang members smirked at them all. I'm not leaving here empty-handed. Get them. Everyone nodded, grinning at them as they quickly picked up their weapons that were knocked off of their hands by Zabuza. They waited for a few moments before charging right towards them all. Naruto sighed, slowly moving to the stand right back up. Though he was quickly stopped once he saw an arrow strike down in the middle of the bridge. This caused the gang members to stop their charging in a very abrupt manner. They all looked further ahead and saw Inari and the entire village right behind him. The heroes always comes in at the last second to save everyone. Inari yelled, bringing his crossbow right above, declaring war against the gang members. Naruto got a slight amused look on his face as he looked at them all. He looked right back around and saw the gang members grit their teeth slightly. I'll use the rest of my chakra to summon shadow clones. Naruto thought, summoning dozens of shadow clones all right them. They all gazed at the gang members. Run! They yelled, running away and jumping off of the bridge and into the depths of the ice-cold water just right below that unfinished bridge. Naruto panted, feeling the tiredness wash all over him. The clones dispersed and only real Naruto was the last one standing. God, the Susanoo or whatever it is called took the toll out of me. Naruto thought, laying back on the ground. Kakashi took the dying Zabuza and placed him right next to Haku. The mist that was covering the area soon started to turn non-existent and disappear completely. Naruto slowly started to close his eyes. A pained but peaceful face appeared as he soon fell asleep. Oh, I'm here again. Naruto looked at the cage right in front of him. The Kyuubi looked at Naruto with his fierce and dangerous eyes. A growl was made. So you unlocked the next step of your accursed Jujutsu at the age of 12. Even younger than Madara. Naruto narrowed his eyes, gazing at the Kyuubi. The Manjikyu Sharingan, huh? Madara told me about it and one of its abilities. Susanoo. Though I am confused at one matter. How did I get it? Asked Naruto, confused on how he could have gotten it when Satsuki didn't die. I know that someone close to you or something along those lines are needed to die or something for it to meet the criteria. But that was not the case with Satsuki. This was what made Naruto confused. A snort was made by Kyuubi. Isn't it obvious? Someone smart like you can't even figure this out? Fine. I'll tell you. Naruto stood still, silently listening to the words of the Kyuubis. The moment you saw Satsuki or your girlfriend sacrifice herself to save you, the process was already undergoing and taking shape, but it took shape so quickly. Doesn't it take time? Humph. Don't think someone like you who is quote-unquote emotionless is immune. People like you typically feel the most emotion. Naruto shrugged, disagreeing with the Kyuubi's statement. Wouldn't the process stop immediately after I found out Satsuki was actually still alive? The Kyuubi stayed silent before he answered the question that was directed towards him. That's the thing, the process was already done by the time you found out that she was alive. You have strong feelings for the girl. I'll have killing you too once I get out. Strong feelings? I do not follow. You wouldn't understand. You are prone to not understanding these type of things. That's just your own nature. Naruto stood there, silent to everything that was happening. Strong feelings, huh? Naruto started to slowly disappear from the mindscape. Naruto slowly awoke from his deep sleep. His eyes saw the ceiling. He slowly sat up and looked all around him. They're all down eating. Naruto thought, hearing the talking from all the way from his current location. He sighed, looking out and seeing the scenery. I've been asleep for quite some time. Naruto thought, seeing the bright sun shining down on the world. He sat there, thinking and thinking what he should do next. He suddenly heard someone slide the door open. It was Kakashi. Good, you're awake. Naruto stood up to his voice and looked right back at him. Kakashi looked at him for a second before he gave him his signature eye smile. It then disappeared a moment after. We need to talk on what happened to you. Privately. Chapter 31. Konoha. Naruto followed Kakashi to the forest that was just right outside of the house. He stayed silent the whole way through the walk to the forest. Kakashi turned towards Naruto, looking for an explanation or an answer. Talk. It looks like you need it. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Kakashi, wondering what he meant by that. He stood still, staring holes into Kakashi. What is there to talk about? Everything. Satsuki said she almost died protecting you. Then there was this massive amount of power that leaked out towards your direction. It was you, wasn't it? Naruto stayed silent, just nodding his head at Kakashi. He sighed, knowing this was going to be a tough one. You're going to have to be honest with me on this one. So I need you to talk to me, Naruto. What did you feel in that exact moment? Naruto looked at the ground, looking for the answer that he was needing for. All I felt was hatred. And why were you feeling hatred? Because Haku almost killed Satsuki. For a moment there, I zoned out because I was just thinking. I became a liability to my comrade in battle. Kakashi sighed, guessing this was taking a huge toll on Naruto. You shouldn't say that to yourself. You are a great and talented ninja. Naruto wanted to laugh. Talented? His talent at thinking almost got Satsuki killed. But it was true. The moment I let myself be so open was the moment that I had failed. Then I got so mad at myself and Haku. And I was so relieved to know that Satsuki was safe because she sacrificed herself. Naruto was focused on looking to the ground. So you care for her a lot. Naruto nodded, giving him a look of confusion. It was obvious and didn't need to be identified at all. I do. She's an asshole at times, but is actually a pretty good person. Kakashi gave Naruto an amused eye smile. He grew confused at this action that Kakashi had just done. You two have a very good and stable bond. Naruto just stood there, silently processing what Kakashi was trying to say. He just shrugged his shoulders. I guess, but enough with the sad talk. We have to do something sadder. Naruto raised an eyebrow, wondering what could possibly be sadder than what they were doing right now. We have to bury Zabuza and his apprentice, Haku. They all stood at the now finished bridge that was just completed a day or two ago. Naruto looked at the crying Inari that was standing right in front of him. All the other villagers of the Land of Waves were standing right behind him and his family. They all waved at him. "Thanks for everything," yelled Inari, tears falling down his as he saw the four slowly make their leave. Naruto was not shook even slightly by this. He sighed. "We'll visit some other time. It's fine. There is no need to be so sad about it." Inari tried to stop his sobs but failed to do so after he started crying even harder. Naruto sighed once more. "You promise?" asked Inari. Naruto stood there silent for a moment, just thinking about whether he could uphold this promise to Inari or not. He nodded, answering his question with a nod to the head. Good. It was now time for them all to part ways for now. Team 7 turned around and started to walk away from the small town in the Land of Waves. Naruto looked back, seeing them wave their hands to say goodbye to them. He returned this by waving his hand right back at them to also say goodbye to them. Once Naruto and the other three were out of sight, Tsunade looked at the rest of his family and the entire citizens of the Land of Waves. He had a question for them. "Now let us get on with naming this village. I for one already thought of one." "Oh? What could this bridge be possibly called? Something lame? Grandeur? Or just something plain normal? The Great Tsunade Bridge." "You! That's so lame!" shouted Inari, disagreeing with the name that Tsunade wanted to give the bridge. Many of the citizens were indifferent to this and chose to not take sides. "How about we call this the Great Naruto Bridge? It suits it much better than your lame name." Many of the citizens perked up to Inari's idea and rallied with shouts. "Yeah!" A lot of the agreed with a yell. Tsunade sighed, knowing he had to change his plans of naming the bridge after himself and naming it right after Naruto. "Fine, fine, fine. We can call it that." Team 7 stood right in front of Hiruzen, the third Hokage. They had just reported the mission details and things weren't looking so great. "So you're telling me that the C-rank mission that I had given you turned out to be a lie and evolved into a B-rank then A-rank mission?" asked Hiruzen, letting out a plume of smoke from his mouth. They nodded in unison. "And the reason why is because?" Hiruzen asked with a follow-up question. Kakashi had a sheepish look right on his sheep as he was at loss for words. "We couldn't abandon the mission," said Naruto, answering the question for Kakashi himself. Hiruzen took a pause, looking up at the ceiling and letting out another plume of smoke. "You could have came back to the village and I would have dispatched another team that could have handled the situation perfectly." This was quite the valid point. Yes, but Tsunade couldn't afford a mission of equivalent level/rank. That could pose a problem. Hiruzen sighed, knowing Naruto wouldn't be backing down anytime soon if he tried making another point. "You all are dismissed. Kakashi, come here in the early morning tomorrow." Kakashi nodded. They all walked right out of the door. Naruto sighed, tiredly stretching his limbs out. They all walked right out of the building and stood outside of it. The three turned around and faced Kakashi. "Meet me at that red-orange bridge thingy Majigi. You know where it is, right?" They nodded. Slowly, Kakashi sighed, knowing that they didn't know where it was. "Looks like you'll have an extra 3 hours to look for it. Bye." Kakashi disappeared in a swirl of leaves. This left them dumbfounded as they looked at the spot that Kakashi was formerly at. "Well, I'll see you two tomorrow." Naruto walked away, making his way back to the apartment complex. "HM? Your mission turned into an A rank?" questioned Danzo, analyzing Naruto to the very T. It seemed like Naruto held no trauma from the experience. It was expected. Naruto was a member of Root. They do not let such trauma clench them and hold them back from completing the mission. The Chunin exams are coming up once more. Many opponents of opposing villages will be coming to our village to participate in the Chunin exams this year. Naruto nodded, knowing where his words were currently going. "I do expect for you and your team to pass this with relative ease. You, a prodigy of the shinobi arts, will evolve." Naruto nodded once more, still kneeling down towards Danzo. "Yes, Danzo-sama," said Naruto, standing right up. "You are dismissed." Naruto nodded, bowing down slightly before he left the room that Danzo covered with his own power. Naruto soon escaped the treachery that was known as the Root HQ. He appeared right inside of his apartment and took off his attire that was suited for his duties as a Root Umbu member. Naruto sighed, getting his normal attire and wearing it once more. Naruto then crashed right onto his bed. I haven't went on a mission for Danzo in quite some time. That is good. This led to another thought that was looming all around his brain. He looked up at the ceiling. Has Kakashi-sensei reported that I am an Uchiha to the Hokage? Naruto thought, knowing that will definitely be the case. But there was one real problem to this if he wasn't careful. My secret as an Uchiha could possibly be revealed to the council. And that means Danzo could also find out about it. Fuck, I am playing a dangerous game here. Naruto thought, continuing to look up at the ceiling. But there is also the possibility that the Hokage won't tell the council. Naruto thought once more, looking at the window right next to him. The sun was just beginning to set once more. I still have time. Naruto thought, jumping right out of his bed and then jumping right out of his window. He had a simple but definitely an effective plan by Naruto. I'll just ask the Hokage to simply not tell anyone, especially the council. Naruto jumped right on top of a building and quickly made his way towards the Hokage residence. Naruto arrived to the Hokage residence just in time before the sun fully sets. He hurriedly made his ways towards the Hokage's office in a quick manner. Without permission, Naruto walked past every person that tried to stop him from going further into the Hokage residence. He never stopped, they couldn't. Naruto arrived at the door to the office. Hey, you can't go in there. You need permission, yelled one of the people that tried to stop him. Naruto ignored them and pushed the door right open. Naruto entered the room that Hiruzen was inhabiting. He raised an eyebrow at Naruto's entrance that was so abruptly. Oh, he knew why he was here indeed. Naruto locked the door to block away the crazy people. Kakashi told me. It seems my theory was correct. Hiruzen enabled the silencing seals that were covering the room that they were in. Naruto stood there, silent to what he was currently saying. When did you create the theory? Asked Naruto, narrowing his eyes at the sly old man right in front of him. Hiruzen let out a slight chuckle in response. Your interactions with others and Uchiha Satsuki. Your name, your attitude points to it all. Oh, he definitely has some concrete/solid proof that Naruto was an Uchiha. You act very Uchiha-like. Your surname is also something I didn't pick up until later on when I got to know you. But that discovery was only recently. Naruto had a question in mind. My surname is very concrete evidence that I am an Uchiha. Why did you not act on it right on the moment you found out about it? Naruto asked, seeking and extracting information from Hiruzen. While yes, it was definitely quite solid proof. But what are the chances that your surname was just a mere coincidence that I had picked up? That would be humiliation. So I decided not to act on it. Naruto nodded, seeing as that was at least solid reasoning. Are you planning on telling others and spreading it across the village? Hiruzen laughed, shaking his head as a response to Naruto's worried question. Why should I? If something as scandalous as this were to break out, it'll cause a massive outrage. Your secret is safe with Kakashi and me. This did raise another question for Naruto. What about Satsuki and Sakura? What if they say my secret? Kakashi has that covered. I ordered him to check up on the two and tell them to not spill the beans about your secret. This is a very serious matter. Naruto sighed in relief. Maybe this wouldn't have happened if our team had just simply turned back. Whatever. What we had done is in the past. Naruto thought, bowing down slightly before leaving the Hokage office. As he left the office, Naruto looked up into the sky and saw that the sun was no longer there and that the moon was the only thing that was left. He looked back down and saw that many people were beginning to go back inside their own houses for obvious reasons that were quite known. Naruto sighed, walking back to his apartment. Once he had finally arrived at his apartment complex, he saw something unusual unexpectedly happen to him. Satsuki was attached to the side of the complex, trying to find a way in his apartment. What are you doing? Naruto asked, suddenly appearing right next to her in an oddly fashion. Satsuki slightly widened her eyes, backing away just a bit due to the sudden question. I thought you were inside. I've been calling for you for the past 10 minutes or so. I wasn't here. If I was here, I would have responded immediately. Sure, whatever. Now let's go. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this sudden order that was coming from Satsuki herself. He stood there, puzzled at her request. Where are we going? To train, you damn dumbass. Naruto sighed, knowing that she was going to keep on berating him until he agreed to train with her once again. It's night. Doesn't matter. Naruto nodded, walking right back down to the ground alongside Satsuki. The two were now back on the ground. God, Satsuki was a fucking handful. Why do you want to train so late at night? A scoff was heard by Naruto. Oh, he asked a wrong question to Satsuki. Man, him and his mouth sometimes. It barely 9 p.m. Stop being lazy and train with me. Naruto gave her narrowed eyes, wondering why she was being so curt. Is that the best way to put it? Fine. Sure. I already am. All right, Naruto. What I want is for the two of us to spar with our Sharingans. Again, this potential choice for Naruto could possibly go all wrong for him. Why? Because I said so. Just do it. The two finally reached the training ground that the two had been using the entire time before they became full-fledged genin. You sure? Asked Naruto, standing right across from Satsuki as the two go into their own stances. Satsuki growled at Naruto's continuous amount of questioning that were unneeded. Her Sharingan flared to life. Yes, I'm sure. I can at least spar for far longer now. Naruto shrugged, knowing that multiple amounts of shadow clones were on the lookout for anything suspicious. His Sharingan flared to life. The two didn't move for a moment. They were just closely observing each other to the absolute max. In an instant, they started to rush and approach each other at fast speeds. The two quickly closed in on each other, and in a blink of an eye they clashed. Naruto yawned, knowing he was going to be the last one to appear at the red-orange bridge thingy majigi that Kakashi told them to meet him at today. I slept in for an extra 2 hours, Naruto thought, rubbing his tired eyes as he made his way towards the bridge. Satsuki had made him stay up late to train with her for over 5 hours. I'm still growing, I need my sleep. Naruto caught sight of his two other team members that were also in his squad. He then got another question appear inside of his head. Satsuki is shorter than me. Is she trying to purposely stump my height so I would grow at a slower rate? Nah, I'm probably overthinking it. Or am I? Naruto walked up to them in complete silence. You're late, said Sakura. Naruto shrugged in response. I guess so. It doesn't really matter. Kakashi-sensei will probably be late for another hour or something. Sakura sighed, knowing what Naruto said was factual statements. Satsuki was just there, silent through the whole ordeal that was happening at the moment. And just like that, everyone was now waiting for Kakashi to arrive within the next hour or two. Naruto leaned right on the ledge, looking up at the sky during the process. And as expected, Kakashi appeared right in front of them after an hour of waiting for him. You all are here. Good. They nodded, no longer leaning on the ledge of the N were facing Kakashi. I smiled in response to this. I already got our 5 to 7 missions for today. The first one is to cut the grass of a lady on the outskirts of the village. They nodded, immediately following Kakashi to their destination. They arrived at their destination after minutes upon minutes of walking on foot. The four were facing an old hag that had many wrinkles on their face. As you know, I need you to cut the grass and weeds of this place. An old lady like me would die after just 10 minutes. They nodded, knowing that her safety was a priority to her own self. The three then started doing the task that they were tasked to be doing. They all completely finished it at quick pace, wanting all of this to be over in an instant. They then went on to another mission that needed them to collect the trash that was piling up on a stream of water that was leading to a dangerous waterfall. They finished that with perfection. They then were tasked to walk dogs. They all picked the smaller ones due to the fact that they were going to be less of a pain in the ass during the process. They completed that. They completed another. They completed many other D-rank missions as the day progressed. And this all happened in an instant. Now they were in front of Kakashi. You three did well today. Good job. Naruto and Satsuki gave him a small and slight nod, while Sakura did a wide smile that plastered on her face. I expect this kind of performance to be shown in the future. But other than that, you all may leave. They nodded as Kakashi walked away from them all. Sakura waved goodbye to them as she also left the area after a few seconds. This now only left the two Uchihas, Naruto and Satsuki. They stood there silently for a moment or two, doing nothing for some odd reason. Satsuki looked over at Naruto's side. "Train?" asked Satsuki, hoping for a yes and not a no. Naruto looked over towards her, still staying silent for a few seconds before he answered the question. "Sure. But look." Naruto pointed right behind them. Satsuki raised an eyebrow, following Naruto's index finger. She looked at where Naruto was pointing at. "Oh, it's your shitty student." Chapter 32. Prelude. "Boss, you ready to train me?" Naruto looked at Konohamaru, sighing right at him as he stared at him with blank eyes. "Who said I'm training you?" asked Naruto, responding to Konohamaru's question without much thought and hesitation being put right onto it. Konohamaru deflated. "Wha? I'm your apprentice." Naruto shrugged, not caring what he actually had to say to him. "Don't care. Even if I accepted that you my apprentice, doesn't necessarily mean I'll teach you anything. A few tips here and there is more than enough to get you stronger." Naruto heard a grunt escape Konohamaru's mouth. "That won't make me, no, a stronger." He pointed towards his current companions. "Take it if you will. I'm not obliged to be your sensei and teach just because I agreed to it because of your real sensei." Naruto felt the eyes of Satsuki staring holes at his own body. "But don't senseis teach?" Naruto looked at the person who had asked that. His eyes met with a kid with short brown hair, circular glasses, and snot lightly dripping down his nose. Naruto nodded. "Sure, but I'm still a genin that is fresh out of the academy. I have no real experience teaching something that I have no interest in." He heard Konohamaru huff in response. "Anyway, this is Udon and Moegi. We are the Konohamaru Army Corps." Naruto was not amused for even the slightest bit. "I'll get going now. Satsuki is dragging me to train with her." Naruto started to walk away from Konohamaru and his two other companions that he was with. "Why are you always training with her? What about your own apprentice? I and the other two need to experience growth." Oh, so Konohamaru was complaining. As expected. "HM? She's my best friend. I guess I have friends, but I'm not very close to them. Having one or two bonds is enough for me. Plus, she'd berate and drag me to train with her. Nothing personal." Naruto felt the glares from Satsuki right behind him. "I do not berate or drag you to train whatsoever. Keep telling yourself that." Satsuki huffed, walking right beside Naruto as they walked right towards their training place that they were supposed to be at. They suddenly heard Konohamaru shout towards them. "Your girlfriend is rude." The two stopped. Satsuki turned around, facing Konohamaru with such fierce and dangerous eyes that could kill him in an instant. He gulped. Naruto saw this and sighed at this foreseen outcome that was about to be created. "Run," said Naruto, ordering Konohamaru and the other two to run for their lives. Satsuki suddenly appeared right in front of Konohamaru and the others. "You're dead." Satsuki outstretched her hand out towards Konohamaru. He widened his eyes, quickly running away from her before she could kill him. "Boss, help me," yelled Konohamaru, racing away from the angered and infuriated Satsuki. Naruto sighed, walking right behind them, though since he was walking, he couldn't keep up with them continuously running. Such a waste of time, Naruto thought, hearing each step that he created as he moved along the concrete ground. God, why did he have to teach such an energetic person? Because he had no choice. Actually, he probably had a choice but didn't instinctively choose out of unknown reasons that Naruto did not know. As Naruto followed, the more he thought about the chances of the outcome of this situation to ultimately go all wrong and that he will be forced into a nasty situation. Oh, how right he was. Gah! Naruto heard someone yell. He groaned, knowing who exactly this person was. Konohamaru. Naruto appeared right around the corner and saw someone with war paint holding Konohamaru with a grasp. He walked right beside Satsuki, whom was staring at the boy with a glare. She and Naruto met eyes and nodded, knowing exactly what to do at this moment. "Let him go," said Naruto, slowly walking towards the person who was around his age. The boy smirked at him. "Relax. I'm only teaching this guy a lesson. This will be beneficial for him. He doesn't know he is messing with." Naruto shook his head, Seeing that this guy was some stubborn fellow, I said. Naruto and Satsuki appeared right beside of him. Let him go. He widened his eyes, seeing how fast they had suddenly appeared right next to him. He immediately dropped Konohamaru on the ground and got into a taijutsu stance. Tsh, bring it on. He narrowed his eyes at the two of them. Naruto ignored him and picked Konohamaru up and dragged him away from the warpaint dude guy. You know, Suna is allied with Konoha. It'd be quite sad if we were to sever our alliance. Naruto glanced right back at the boy and the other one. She was a blondie, the most troubling ones. The hell did you say? You're here for the Chunin exams? Are you not? They nodded, answering his question with a positive. So what? That means you're a genin as well as us. As a genin, we have boundaries that we shouldn't overlook as a ninja. This caused them to narrow their eyebrows with. And as of right now, you are breaking those said boundaries by doing something off limits. We are the lowest of all the ranks of that exist in this ninja system. We don't get privileges to hit a random person that has yet to do anything wrong. Naruto pulled out a kunai and held it towards him, especially since the person you just tried hurting is the grandson of the third Hokage. He widened his eyes, realizing what could have happened if he had progressed further. We advise you to think before you bark, said Satsuki, backing away and standing right back beside Naruto. They locked eyes with each other. Before anything else could be said, someone butted into their conversation. Kankuro, the guy that had the war paint covering his whole face, suddenly had a surge of facial expressions change from one to another in mere seconds of hearing that voice that contained such malice. Everyone's heads turned to the tree right next to them and saw a guy with hair that was the same shade as the color blood. Naruto and Satsuki narrowed their eyes at him, wondering who he was. You are a disgrace to our village. He turned his head right towards the duo that stood beside each other. I'm sorry if he causes you any trouble. They now had a better look at the boy that was hanging right off the tree. Around his eyes were black rings that could potentially indicate that he has had no sleep. He disappeared and reappeared right beside the other two with a swirl of sand. He looked right towards his other two teammates with such serious eyes. Let's go. We didn't come here to play around. The two nodded almost immediately and followed right behind him. Naruto looked at their backs as they slowly retreated. You're attending the Chunin exams, right? Naruto suddenly asked. The three stopped, slowly turning towards him. They all nodded in absolute unison. Yes, we are. The boy with the red hair was the one that had responded to Naruto's question. I am Gaara of the Sand. The other two are my older siblings. The two nodded, knowing that they also had to introduce themselves to this guy, Gaara. I am a Hiku Naruto. I am Uchiha Satsuki. I see. I am interested in you too. Mother will enjoy your blood being spilling. The two suddenly tensed up. This guy was someone who they had to be very cautious with. He's dangerous. The thought the two rivals. Gaara is now a person they have to definitely watch out for. They watched as Gaara and his siblings retreated away from them. Naruto and Satsuki looked towards Konohamaru and his two friends, Udon and Mogi. You three go back to your sensei, Ebisu. We have things to do and places to be. Satsuki nodded, knowing that Naruto was right on this part of the spectrum. The three sighed but nodded their heads at the two. Fine. But next time, you will train us. Konohamaru and his army corps started to walk away from Naruto and Satsuki. The blonde just sighed, shaking his head at his antics. Sure. He had to agree, seeing that they wouldn't stop bitching and complaining when Naruto would refuse at his own personal request. Once Konohamaru and the others were gone, Naruto looked over towards Satsuki. She was giving him a look that he knew all too well to not understand. Naruto nodded. Train. As they left, Naruto felt a headache surge through his head and disappear almost immediately after. The Jonin senseis, some Chunin and the Hokage were present all in one room to discuss one important matter that has came up and can't be ignored. As you know, the Chunin exams are on the come up. They all nodded, standing right beside each other in a uniformly way. But they ultimately stayed silent to this. And as you can also know, all three of the rookie teams are eligible for the Chunin exams. Everyone nodded, having mixed emotions about letting fresh genin into such a battlefield. Can I have the said three Jonin senseis approach me? They nodded and walked right in front of Hiruzen, the third Hokage. They all bowed down slightly. I would like to know if you three would like to enter your genin into the Chunin exams. Hiruzen looked at the first sensei in the formal line, Hatake Kakashi. First Kakashi. He nodded. I, Hatake Kakashi, lead Team 7. The 3 genin that I am teaching are Ahiku Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura. This was Arnold the beginning. They wanted to know what his decision was. And I, Hatake Kakashi, recommend these 3 to enter the Chunin exams. Irika widened his eyes, seeing as this was an unexpected decision by Kakashi. Next was Kurenai. I, Kurenai, led the following students: Inuzuka Kiba, Hyuga Hinata, and Abirame Shino. There was slight pause that was created by Kurenai herself. And I recommend these 3 to enter the Chunin exams this year. Even more eyes widened at this decision that was made by her. God, 2 rookie teams entering? How about 3? It was now time for Asuma to say if he was going to allow his 3 genin to participate in the Chunin exams this time around. Asuma took out the cigarette from his mouth. He let the smoke escape his lips. I, Asuma, led Team 10. They consist of Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Choji, and Yamanaka Ino. And as expected, everyone was caring about his choice. And I recommend these 3 to enter the Chunin exams. And yet again, their eyes widened once more. Another 3 genin entering the Chunin exams. 9 in total. Hokage-sama, if I may? Asked Irika, bowing down slightly. Hiruzen looked at Irika for a moment or two before nodding his head, signaling that he could speak his mind. Those 9 genin that they had listed, I knew and taught them all at the academy since they were just 6 years old. I know what they are capable of. They have lots of potential, but putting them in Chunin exams this soon. Irika was trying to change their minds. With all due respect, Irika, I was 6 years younger than my genin team when I became Chunin. Irika shook his head, gritting his teeth with much anger. Kakashi, they're not like you. He just shrugged his shoulders at him, disagreeing with such a statement. I would beg to differ, said Kakashi, making the room grow quiet at this. Sometimes failing is good. Pain can teach them things that other people can't. Irika did not like this. Are you trying to crush them? No. But this is merely an experience that they can use to improve themselves as a shinobi of Konoha. But the Chunin exams is a serious and dangerous thing to enter. You know that. Kurenai sighed, looking at Kakashi. She blocked Kakashi with her arm. Kakashi, I think that is enough. But he shook his head as a response. No, Kurenai. Irika needs to understand that Naruto, Satsuki, and Sakura are no longer academy students that are under his supervision. They are now my students. Before Irika could say anything else, Kakashi continued. I have spent time with them and know their true capabilities. Their abilities as a shinobi has changed greatly in just the past month or 2. Irika narrowed his eyes at him. You can't, Kakashi. They're still fresh out of the academy. Kakashi sighed. Yes, they are fresh out of the academy and had just became genin. But they are ready. Naruto is without a doubt a Chunin-level ninja, maybe even more, with Satsuki closely and quickly trailing right behind him. And while Sakura is indeed the weakest out of the 3, she has potential to be strong. Before things could have escalated much further, Hiruzen butted in. That is enough, you two. There is room to argue somewhere else, but not here. They turned their heads towards Hiruzen and nodded, knowing that they had overstepped their limits and own boundaries as a ninja of Konoha. Yes, Hokage-sama. It was the next day and the team were waiting around the same red-orange shaded bridge that they had waited in like before. And as normal, Kakashi was late again. Will Sensei enter us into the Chunin exams? Naruto thought, wondering if Kakashi had the guts to them 3 into a battlefield that held numerous ninjas from different nations and lands. This was certainly something that Naruto did not want to miss out on. The Chunin exams were something for them to further their abilities as individuals. And the chances are also high if I fight him, Naruto thought, recalling back yesterday when he and Satsuki had encountered that bloodthirsty redhead, Gaara. Naruto thought, feeling a sudden headache come in and go. This was certainly an odd one for Naruto. Headaches don't just appear and disappear in a blink of an eye. Now that I think about it, this happened to me yesterday when we met Gaara. Naruto thought, pondering if there was a connection to that he was missing. The only thing that I could possibly think about that is remotely possible are the chances that the QB is the one giving me these headaches. Naruto heard someone appear right on top of the bridge. Hello! They all looked up and saw Kakashi looking down on them all. I smiled at them as he jumped down to match their current level. Sorry, I got lost in the road of life. Sakura huffed with much annoyance. Liar, haha. Anyway, I do have something special that I wanted to show you three. They raised an eyebrow, noticing how he was pulling something from his pouch. What's that? Kakashi outstretched his hand towards them, showing 3 small pieces of paper sticking out of his hand. These 3 are your Chunin exams application form. I had recommended you 3 to participate in the Chunin exams. Naruto and Satsuki were satisfied with this development, while Sakura was very unsure. I can fight that Gaara person and… Naruto. Satsuki looked at the blonde right next to him. She wanted to fight him so badly. He was someone who was able to measure and exceed her standards as a shinobi. But even if I did recommend you 3 into the Chunin exams, this is still very much an optional choice that you can decide on your own. They nodded, looking at the pieces of paper that they had just been given. This is all I had to inform you 3 for today. These exams start in 5 days. You 3 can take the days off until the day has come for the Chunin exams. The 3 nodded once more, understanding what he was saying. Kakashi then disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Chunin exams. Naruto thought, looking right in front of him. There was no way he was not entering the exam. This was an opportunity of a lifetime that he could just not pass up. They all started to walk together back home. I don't know if I can hold my weight. I'm not strong like the other 2. Sakura thought, deeply deciding if she entering the Chunin exams or not will be beneficial. The only good thing I have going with me right now is my good chakra control. But that is mostly due to my chakra reserves being much lower than the other 2. Sakura thought, comparing herself to prodigies of their graduating classroom. They're probably better off without me, right? Sakura thought, looking at the ground as they walked right on it. But these Chunin exams that are being hosted, hey, can help. Help her get stronger, she means. And getting stronger is certainly a good thing, is it not? But what are the chances that she does improve along the way? Around 50%. That means another 50% was on the other side. Decent chances. Maybe I can ask questions on how I can get stronger. Sakura thought, briefly glancing at Naruto and Satsuki. She knew they were most definitely going to enter the exams. It was just their nature to do dangerous things without much hesitation. Sakura envied them for that. They were strong and were brave enough to face even the toughest of challenges that was blocking their own goals. Can I be like that? She thought, wondering the chances of such things happening. Maybe, just maybe that could happen. The best possible chances of her getting stronger is to study an area that she could be good at. Maybe she could be like Tsunade and specialize in medical ninjutsu. Something like medical ninjutsu will be very hard to master for people like Naruto and Satsuki. But her? It may just be possible for me to study in that area. Sakura thought, noticing that Naruto and Satsuki had just stopped. She did the same and raised an eyebrow at them. She was just so lost in thought that she did not know what was happening around them all. Someone is here, said Satsuki, narrowing her eyes as she looked around the area that they were in. They all got into their stances and all looked around with their eyes darting each corner. Come on out, ordered Naruto, pushing his hand into his holster and pulling out a singular kunai being tightly held within his hand. It seems you all are quite good. They heard a voice that was hiding in the shadows of the tree all around them. In an instant, a man had appeared right in front of them. He had a black cloak that covered his body and a veil that covered most of his face. But the most notable thing about him was his forehead proctor that he had embedded on his wooden hat on his head. You're part of AIM, Amigakure. Naruto narrowed his eyes at him.
Hey you! Yes, you! If you end this video and want more season, don't forget to give your comment asking for the third season. So, bye bye!